All right. Hang on 1 second. Karen, do we have information on this event itself? All right. Mastering the Hustle Workshop 18, Rainier Avenue Radio is live here at KEXP. It's me, Tony B. A bunch of us are down here. Daniel Bellis is in the house. What's up, Daniel? I can't hear Daniel. There he is.
Hello, what's up? What's up? What's up,
There's
Tony?
Daniel Bellis. Daniel Bellis is here. And KZ is here somewhere. What's up, KZ?
Hey, what's up, KZ?
KZ?
I don't know if she can hear us.
How you doing?
Are you on, KZ? Lesson number 1 in radio, always turn on your
Hello,
mics.
Karen.
Well, hey.
And I think Mark Bryant's over there as well.
What am I going to say?
All right, Mark, what's up?
Hello, Ian. Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Bryant.
Dennis Weaver's over here. What's up,
I am
Dennis?
the host of Rainier Avenue Radio Fitness Corner.
All right, Dennis.
Happy Saturday afternoon. I'm Dennis Weaver,
All right.
host of the Change Your Food, Change Your Life show and Good Food Guide on
All right.
RainierAvenueRadio.World, my favorite radio station, and soon to be yours.
We are
That's
here
right. And this is
live.
KZ, host of Mojam Mondays. And
Oh, we're going to get to that. We'll get to that. That was just a shout-out. So anyway, we're broadcasting live from KEXP. I wanted to welcome everyone. This is an opportunity for you to learn about radio. Come on down to KEXP. There will be multiple radio stations here that will be broadcasting as well. I know that KMIH is in the house. Some folks from, I believe, KMIH took a tour of KEXP this morning. There'll be a question and answer session that takes place very shortly, and workshops that will begin at 2 o'clock. Then moderator and panelist discussions. These will include the moderator, Marco Collins, and then also panelist Steve Graham, who hosts the Locals Only show at 107.7 The Inn. Michelle Feghali, the radio manager at Sub Pop Records, and Gabriel Teodros, musician and DJ at KEXP. So there's going to be a lot going on here. We'll certainly be telling you more about what we do at Rainier Avenue Radio. We are a local, community-centric radio station. And Mr. Bellis.
How's it going, Tony?
We have done a number of different things, and I'm just thinking, since we're talking about all of the different things that we do, why don't you talk a little bit about the different programming that we have on our radio station?
We have incredible programming here at Rainier Avenue Radio. We have sports programming. We broadcast local high school football, basketball, baseball. We also have talk shows. We have music shows of all different genres. We have shows in different languages. It's just a representative of the community. This is what we do at Rainier Avenue Radio.
And, we, of course, we'll get to this more, but you also host a show, Fresh Juice.
And, I do a little thing in there every Wednesday night, 9 to 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
We put on local hip-hop and R&B artists. We talk to them. It's a 2-hour show from Wednesday to 9 to 11 p.m. We also play a little music. So it's a good little time, and join us every Wednesday, 9 to 11 p.m.
Really popular show. Once again, this is Rainier Avenue Radio .World. If you want to find out more about how radio works, again, we're live right now. If you're interested in finding out about more of the programming that we have, we've got applications over here where you can intern for a number of different things. We'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. And Daniel, talking about our programming, last night we broadcast playoff games, high school football.
Playoffs?
Yeah, just over the way at Memorial Stadium. And for anybody in here who's a high school football or sports fan, we broadcast high school sports last night. O'Day beat, who was it? Ferndale.
Ferndale.
In the 32, O'Day beat Ferndale. I think it was 42-0.
Wow, that's a blanking.
Yeah, I think Ferndale lost 42-0. You can actually go back, and then at the game after that, I believe Garfield, in a very tight game, beat Evergreen 36-34 in a game that just went back and forth the entire way. And
Must have been very exciting.
it was a really, really, really good game. Anyway, those are the types of things that you can find broadcasted, and we'll be here at events like this. So what we want to do is be able to share with you some of the things that we do. As Daniel mentioned, that we offer sports programming. We offer programming and critical conversations. Sometimes it can be funny. Sometimes you might find it a little weird. We also offer music programming, a variety of music. You name the type of music, you'll hear it on Rainier Avenue Radio. And then we offer youth programming. We offer programming in foreign languages, and I just talked a little bit about our sports department, but we also have specific sports talk shows. Any of these things that you decide you want to do, all you have to do is say, hey, I'd like to learn how to be on the radio, and we can engage you in being part of what we do. I talked about our youth programming, and so right now I'm going to give it to our student coordinator who coordinates our student internship program. And we also have a student from KMIH where you guys do some broadcasting. So you guys take it over.
All right, so real quick, I'm going to go talk about the student internship program. So I'm the student coordinator. My name is TC. And basically, I help teenagers who are either in the greater high school area, Seattle area, improve their journalism skills, geography skills, photography skills, and then teach them how to broadcast. But right now, we have a special guest. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, my name is Mason Meinzinger, and I am a student at Mercer Island High School, and I'm on 88.9 The Bridge, KMIH.
So can you tell us real quick what grade you're in?
I'm a sophomore in high school right now.
So then how did you get so interested in radio, I guess at such a young age?
Well, I got kind of lucky because when my 8th grade was having a introduction night to the high school, I was wandering around the high school being lost as usual, and the radio teacher came and found me, and he said, hey, I got something to show you. So he walked me into the radio room. I got a little introduction on the radio, got to hear my voice on a speaker for the first time in my life. And from there, it was the yellow brick road.
So what interests you about radio?
Honestly, for me personally, it's that ability to get my ideas out in the world, and it's also that ability to kind of say my own opinion and have choose my own music, be who I am publicly, and allow a lot of people to see that.
Mm-hmm. So what do you personally put out on the airwaves?
I mean, personally, me and my friends, we have a show, and what we do mostly is high school shenanigans, and we try to play as much fun music as we can within an hour. I mean, we play and have so much fun on our show. I think our show is really about capturing that high school energy throughout the day.
So more about high school energy. Can you tell us, I guess, the vibe of your high school, if you want to say?
I think we try to be as serious as possible when it comes to, putting our shows out and becoming part of the radio community as a large. But when it comes to interpersonal relationships between the students and the shows and all that, it's very, very fun, very laid back, and pretty much we're really relaxed and happy to be and have this opportunity to be on the radio and have our voices heard.
So kind of speaking about the introduction of radio, we are currently at an event. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, sure. So we are here at the KEXP Mastering the Hussle event, which is kind of really about getting the idea out there for students and people in general to find more about radio and what radio means to the local community in general.
So what do you hope to personally get out of this event?
I want to see how professionals really manage this environment, how professionals handle the crowd, and how well people react to radio as a medium throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. So do you prefer more local radio or commercialized radio?
I personally prefer local radio because I feel it has a lot more energy and it has a lot more explosiveness and a lot more fun, and people really put their heart and soul into it every day.
So how do you kind of see that with some of the radio stations that we have here right now?
I mean, personally, I don't think I would ever imagine being able to talk to any sort of radio host, but I had that opportunity twice over the last couple of months, and I feel with local radio, that is an opportunity that anyone can have, whether even just emailing or just reaching out. You'll have the opportunity to speak with somebody who has that opportunity to be on the radio at any time of the day, no matter what radio station, but specifically for me, it was KEXP. So I feel like that is a strength of local radio that I don't think anybody will ever find on corporate radio in general.
So what are some strengths that you've gained with being able to talk to these different radio show hosts and being involved with your school's radio station?
I think definitely for me being involved in my high school's radio station, it's about really finding out how to interview somebody, to have that conversation in general, how to ask the right questions when it comes to that, and especially basically like public speaking in general.
Yeah.
Because I felt like that was a very like big boost to my confidence as like a speaker, was that ability to be in a room with just me and the mic and talking into it. That, like, the stress levels for me, that was super easy for me, but then I realized how many people were hearing that, and that was such an amazing experience for me. So that's what really led me to radio.
So for any curious teenagers out there, how would you try to advertise to them that, yeah, you should most definitely get on radio?
Listen, if you're a class clown, the quiet kid, the popular kid, there's a spot for everybody on any sort of radio station. Even if you just, like, you know, mess around and having fun, if you can get that on audio, you're a radio star in general. Super easy. So definitely, if anybody wants to try out any sort of radio, entertainment, anything like that, TV shows, definitely come and try out radio in general.
Right. So what other advice would you give to people who are just entering into the radio scene?
You got to take it slow. You got to be able to recognize that there's space for growth, that you need to see that there's a different kind of different environment that radio has in general when it comes to things like entertainment, music, talking, just everything in general. So I think you need to recognize that it's a totally different breed when it comes to every single one of those genres.
So what are some questions that you would personally ask interviewees?
I always start off with, what is one person in the world that you would like to meet? And then I always end with, what is one thing you would tell yourself in high school? Because people from, you know, for the high school question, people like to say, you know, don't eat that ham sandwich or something like that. And then people are really a lot deeper. They say, you know, you should have taken that class, taken that opportunity. So I think it's a good way to find out how people feel about certain subjects super easily. But yeah, those are my big questions to ask every single person I interview.
So I'm going to flip that back onto you, and I'm going to ask you, what person would you most definitely like to meet?
I think it would be super interesting to meet. I don't know. I would have to say probably Howard Stern. That's I don't know, like him or hate him, he's a huge radio star, and I think that would be super interesting to find out his pathway to becoming a star, who he interviewed, what questions he asked, and what people he met.
So you're a 10th grader right now.
Yep.
What are you looking forward to for the later high school years?
I think really developing my radio career as a whole, being able to reach out more and talk with more people, because I felt definitely being a 9th grader, it's kind of hard to reach out to people and say, you know, hey, I would like to come and interview with you, and they're like, yeah, all right, scram, kid. But I feel like as like a 10th grader and going on, people are a lot more excited to become part of a radio experience in general, and I think that I'm looking forward to growing more and kind of working into my role as a member of the radio station.
So then I'll ask you the final question. What is one thing that you wish you could do differently in high school?
Okay, starting off, freshman year, I shouldn't have eaten all those school lunches. I for sure gained like 15 pounds from just freshman year in general, but other than that, it was super fun. I wouldn't change anything about high school yet, but I still got 2 more years to go, so I don't know.
And then this is the actual last final question. Do you have any final words to the audiences or any teenagers out there?
Yeah, teenagers out there in general, come on down to KEXP, have some fun, come be a part of your local community, and then for everybody else, come down to KEXP and become part of your local community.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So as you can see here at this event, we have a range of perspectives, a range of voices, and a range of teenagers who I feel like you should probably get to know.
All right, we're going to go back over to our youth. Yes, wonderful job. That's what we do. Congratulations to everybody. These are youth that are doing things. And, yeah, why don't you guys go ahead and have a seat? And right here standing with me right now, Joe, come over here real quick. Joe, tell folks who you are.
I am Joe Bryant. I'm the media advisor at Mercer Island High, the general manager of 88.9 The Bridge, and an old radio guy like Tony here.
So you were just talking about while they're getting situated over. We know what this is. It's not like we're killing time. We're letting that last set get though, but it provides us an opportunity to talk to some other folks. So you were mentioning that at an event like this, it's a great way to meet people, talk to people, and a couple of musicians are here. Why don't y'all introduce yourselves?
Oh.
Put you on the spot like that. You're on the air live right now.
All right. I'm Nate. I'm 20. Just moved here to the Seattle area a couple of years ago. I'm a guitarist and I guess whatever else I need to be. But right now I'm playing with my best friend Leah, who...
Hi, my name's Leah. I'm 20 as well. I go to SPU. I'm a journalism major. I have my own band, Exopsis, which Nate's in. And oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, and so I'm excited to just find out what's over here. And yeah.
So that's kind of what this event is all about. If you're listening, come on down to KEXP, right by Key Arena on the, what corner? Somebody will find out what corner this is, but it's right next to Key Arena. Radio fair going on here. You can learn more about radio, learn more about the things that you can do to be involved in radio. I'm looking for Dennis Weaver. Come on over here for a second. Dennis, we have a lot of different shows. We're going to get back here for a second, but let's talk about your food, your show, Change Your Food, Change Your Life. Tell us a quick.
I'm Dennis Weaver, founder of Change Your Food, Change Your Life, and host of the Change Your Food, Change Your Life show on RainierAvenueRadio.World, my favorite radio station and soon to be your favorite radio station. Change Your Food, Change Your Life is a fun, high-energy, good health edutainment company with song, story, and interesting guests designed to inform, encourage, coach, and inspire you to make 100% organic good food choices, foods that are life-giving, not life-diminishing. Remember, eating good equals feeling good.
Thank you. We have over 70 different programs that air on, and I'm going to go back here, but for a second, just because, if you can follow me over here, this, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the behind-the-scenes persons, Chad Cheddar.
What's up, y'all? What's up, everybody? What's good? What's good?
So a lot of what you do is behind the scenes. So just really quickly, talk about why that's important. And, you know, while we were all here setting up and doing all this stuff, you were making sure that we were ready to broadcast.
Absolutely. My job is to make sure everything is crispy, clean, sounding good, looking good. You know, production plays a big part in radio and a lot of things. So, yeah, that's what I do. I'm behind the scenes. You see the cameras behind the scenes on me. So, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Excellent job, Chad.
All right. So we have a couple of more students who are in prominent roles at Mercer Island High School radio station who are going to talk to you about what they do. And, again, a lot of the times it's what you don't see, which is not in front of the microphone, which are critical parts of what this radio industry is all about. So it's not just on the microphone. So we're going to take you back to TC, talk more about our student internship program, and a couple more students from Mercer Island.
Okay, so again, I'll give another brief interview or overview about our program. So I'm the student coordinator. I contact high schoolers who are typically involved with the Metro Leagues, like those who are like 3A, maybe 4A high schools, and I teach them how to broadcast, about production, improve their journalism skills, videography skills, and photography skills. So I'm currently here with...
Hi, my name is Lila Schroff. I'm the Student General Manager at KMIH Mercer Island.
I'm Coulson Rimmer. I'm the Public Affairs Director at Mercer Island KMIH.
So could you tell me more about both of your roles?
Yeah, so when I first got started at KMIH, I didn't know at all what I was diving into. My first intro to radio was actually in KUOW's Radioactive program, which is a fabulous way for youth to get involved in radio. And I came back to my school and said, well, we have an awesome opportunity right here, right in front of me. And so I started off on focusing on communications and focusing on how we're interacting with our local community. We've done partnerships with the Parks Department, partnerships with Seafair, and then this year I've taken on a bit more of an administrative role, helping manage the logistics of operating a radio station while still doing my own show.
Mm-hmm.
So how I got into it?
Well, a little bit more about your role.
So I actually am fairly new to radio. This is my first year doing it. I got into the public affairs director. I kind of just wanted to get more involved with the station itself. This was just the first job opportunity, kind of overseeing that crossed my path, and it's really not very interesting stuff, but I'm doing what I can to kind of help the station. Yeah, it's public affairs director, so you're just like filing reports for the FCC every quarter.
So what both got you guys, I guess, initially interested in radio?
For me, the power of storytelling is always something that I found to be really important. When I was younger, I was always involved in theater, screenwriting, and as I got into high school, I started to find there's kind of intimacy in the power of audio, and especially as podcasts have been blossoming, and there's all these different types of audio mediums for storytelling. And so I think that for me is what catalyzed my experiences with radio so far.
I like about what I like about radio is how wide the audience you can reach is, how many people you can affect with it. Probably not one thing specifically about like storytelling or news broadcasting. I kind of like everything about it. Yeah.
So for your school's radio station, is it mostly the demographic of the high school itself, or do you reach a larger audience?
I'd say we reach a lot larger of an audience. Of course, the high school demographic is pretty central, but beyond that, within the Mercer Island community, I know there's lots of people listening. Our signal stretches into Seattle and Bellevue, and then I think we have listeners from all over. So we had a show in Serbian that they would do at 5 a.m. so people in Serbia could listen, and we had listeners in Alaska and Florida and all over the world that will listen online.
Mm-hmm. So could you talk more about your wide scale of programs then that pertains to the different interests of your demographics?
Sure, I'll go for it. I think it starts off as being what the students want, and since the students are programming it, what we really get is what students are interested in. We do a lot of sports broadcasting, football games, basketball games, and so forth. But we also, like I said, are really extending into the local community. So our partnership with Seafair has been really important in our work with the Parks Department. And we also have done a lot of programming focused on unity and inclusion. Mm-hmm. And so this year we hosted a week of unity where each day was a broadcast dedicated to inclusivity or community action, civic engagement. And so these themes for us are really important to emphasize. Anything else?
Yeah, we like to get involved locally. That's the main thing. I think we've reached out the Parks Department partnership with them for and like group funding kind of.
So it's interesting that you mentioned inclusivity, because I guess Mercer Island, I would say, is a predominantly white area, like a large part of Seattle is. So how do you make sure that you always keep up that nice diversity of not only racial, ethnicity, sexuality, all that stuff?
I think I really appreciate that question. And Mercer Island is a community where it's easy to get stuck in the perspective of the bubble. It literally is an island. The borders are pretty well defined. But I think the first and most important thing is that our radio classroom is a safe space, and as soon as a student walks in, they become part of the radio family. Right now at our high school of 1,500 students, we have over 100 of them are in the radio class, which is super cool. And we make sure to extend our reach from beyond just what we're doing within our school to within the broader Seattle community as a whole. And so we also work with our school's journalism department, and so as we move forward, we want to focus on themes that might be sometimes harder to talk about, have conversations that people aren't ready to have, and promote that inclusivity. So we're working really heavily to make that like a district-wide thing. Right now it's a school-wide thing. We're trying to make it a district-wide motion.
Yeah, this is the second year we've done this Week of Unity. It actually went quite well each time. I think we've done a great job of it, and it's good to promote like this inclusivity in such a closed community, this bubble kind of.
So with it being a high school radio station, are there any like censorship that's placed on the topics that you can talk about, like involving possibly race or anything like that?
Involving race and whatnot? Not at all. The one little censorship is not too much topic on video games and stuff like that, right? But we try to keep the content pretty open. But you let students take to the mic and talk about whatever they want. And I think sometimes it's been the conversations that are perhaps the most difficult that have been the most impactful. Mm-hmm. I know that there were a couple conversations about, reproductive rights and abortion that have actually been really influential and have been what's been the most impactful of our storytelling.
Yeah, it's great. We're allowed to talk about like pretty much anything we can. It's good. We're not censored, really.
So with this wide range of going from reproductive rights to literally what's happening in pop culture, I guess, what are your guys' favorite topics to discuss?
I prefer the less heavy stuff. I like, stuff, pop culture stuff, news. That's mainly what my show's about.
I'd probably be the counterweight of that. I have a partner that hosts my show with me, Megan at Kakubal, and we focus on a lot of news and diving deep into politics. So our show is called Real Time Live, and we analyze like the news stories that came out 5 minutes ago on air and talk about, you know, whether it's the impeachment proceedings or something local with, you know, Seattle and tech companies, whatever it is, we're talking about that on the air as we read it, and that really gets some interesting reactions, but it's the reactions that we're having inside our heads as well.
So I'm going to ask both of you more about what your radio shows are about. You gave a little brief overview about it. Thank you, by the way. But I want to hear more about like what's going on in terms of pop culture like that you discuss on your show.
Well, we try to talk about a variety of things, whether that's like movies, music, I mean anything really, and that we also have a small segment on like whatever. We try to find like entertaining news stories. Obviously, like I said, nothing really heavy, just stuff that'll like, you know, brighten your day maybe.
So do you choose topics that are relevant to like right now, or do you kind of go maybe say like a few months back where the issues are still prevalent?
We talk about issues predominantly that are happening right now, but we do have stories that we'll stick with, and we'll start talking about a story in September and follow it through October and November and see where are we at with the story.
So are just any student allowed to be on the radio, or like how does that process work?
Yep, pretty much anybody's allowed. A lot of students have shows, but we also welcome in people to do sports broadcasting or just dip their toes in the water and figure out the best way to find what they're interested in.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you two more questions, which will be for the both of you. One question is, what is one question that you've never been asked but you've always had the answer to?
maybe that question. No, do you have an answer?
No.
A question I've always been asked but never had the answer.
That you have had the answer to.
That I have had the answer to. I can flip that and say the question I always have for my guests is, what advice would you give to your high school self? Mm-hmm. Because we have all these amazing people, and I mean really amazing. We have everybody from congressmen to sports players to the mayor, the superintendent coming in. And I asked them, you know, what advice would you give to yourself when you were in my shoes in high school? And that is where I've learned some of the best stuff.
Okay. So the last question I'll say is, do you have any final words for the audiences or any teenagers out there?
I think most people, I think everyone should follow, you know, their passions, what they want to do, what they like to do, and really just see where that takes them.
I think I would say, remember the power of your voice. Oftentimes people forget that even though you're 15 or 16 or 17 years old, your voice can make a huge difference, and so never be afraid to speak your truth.
Well, thank you so much for coming. It was a pleasure to meet you guys.
Thank you for having us.
All right, RainierAvenueRadio.World, broadcasting live from KEXP. It's Radio Day here, your opportunity to learn more about radio, and also talking a little bit about our radio station. We're going to talk about everybody else's radio station and how you can get engaged and involved as well. But Vaughn Reese is here. Hey, Vaughn. How you doing? Really quickly, let's talk about the show that you do.
Vibing with Vaughn Reese. What can I say about my show? Well, first of all, I am a certified life coach, but I'm more than a life coach. I am what I call a fairy Vaughn mother, because what I do is magical. But Vibing with Vaughn Reese is like a heart offering of mine, because I believe that every single person is born extraordinary. I believe everyone is born perfect. Everyone is born dynamic, and everyone is born amazing with everything you need to be the best version of you. And then we come into this world. We don't choose who raised us. We don't choose our parents, our environment, or anything. And all of that is imposed on us. And then we have a lot of rules in society that are imposed on us. And by the time we're adults, we have all this information from school, from society, from our environment, from our parents, that's been imposed on us, and we're buried somewhere underneath there. And I know that as a fact. So on my show, I'm all about encouraging, inspiring, and getting people to understand that they are perfectly who they are, and there's nothing wrong with them. And if you think something's wrong with you, that's because someone told you you heard it somewhere, or it was modeled to you. Otherwise, it's nothing but perfection, and that is what Vibing with Von Reese is all about. And I can tell you that in a million different ways.
All right. So, again, you can have your own show on RainierAvenueRadio.World as well. If there's something that you want to share, you want to talk about, you want to discuss, we've got over 70 different programs produced by members of the community. It's okay. You can walk through. So right now, we're going to, again, find out more about the stations in our community, low-power FM radio stations, and we're going to take it to Mr. Daniel Bellis.
Yes, we are right here at KEXP. A great atmosphere going on here. Lots of great personalities and hardworking people in the radio community, including KUPS, KVRU, Mercer Islands, KMIH, KBFG, and also the Space 101.1. I got Eric here with me. How's it going, Eric?
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, totally. So where's the Space at?
So Space 101.1, we're a low-power FM radio station broadcasting out of Magnuson Park in northeast Seattle.
Madison Park.
Magnuson Park, historic Magnuson Park. So we actually broadcast from the former gatehouse of the building. So if you know the history of Magnuson Park, it used to be a Navy base back in the 50s, and it's now a beautiful park, and our mission is to bring arts and culture to Magnuson Park and the surrounding area through our LP FM station.
What does that mean to you, bringing arts and culture to the community?
We're about trying to serve music and art and culture that is not currently represented on the dial in our part of town. So in addition to the radio station, we also have an art gallery in the park, and our mission is to be something a little different on the dial than that's already out there. So we have a great mix, currently a great mix of music and arts-related programming. We also have nature programming about nature in the park. We're doing some really innovative things, and folks can check us out in Seattle at 101.1 on the FM dial. Our signal reaches from about Northgate all the way down to the Central District, about as far west as 99, and all the way over to Kirkland on a good day, depending on the weather.
That's a good little reach right there. What do you do at the station, Eric?
So I'm the program director. I also host a show on Friday nights called Wedgwood Rocks, which is a variety music show. And then I host a show on Saturday mornings called My Three Songs, in which we get to know our neighbors, artists, musicians, writers through their favorite 3 songs.
Who are some of the other show hosts you got on the station?
We have Mike Fuller. He hosts a show called The Jet Set. So Mike is actually former KEXP DJ.
Cool.
He used to do a show called Shake the Shack here. He also worked on a legendary Seattle radio station called K-Jet, which was an AM alternative station back in the 80s and 90s. And Mike does 2 shows with us. He does a show called The Jet Set, which is a lot of great vintage punk alternative. Then he hosts a really unique show on Sunday nights called Broken Alaska, which is a one-of-a-kind show, which is an improv radio drama. We believe it is the only serial radio drama happening anywhere in the world.
He's got sound effects and everything
Sound
like that?
effects, the whole thing. It's totally improvised about a fictional town in Alaska. So he's got a cast of 15 actors. It's very cool.
You got a script and everything.
No script,
beautiful.
it's improv.
It's all improv.
It's all improv.
That sounds like you have a great lineup. If someone wants to learn more about the Space, where do they need to go?
Visit us at space101fm.org. We're also out there on Facebook. Search for Space 101.1, and you can find us there. Check us out.
All right.
Thank you. I love talking about the radio, on the radio. It's very meta.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's a beautiful feeling right here. But I know you said that you wanted to get back to your table.
I
so you
do.
can interact
I want to
with
meet
all
some
the
of these
people
great
here.
musicians and all the great folks down here.
So I appreciate you, Eric, for coming through.
All right, thank you.
Right here at KEXP, we're about to start the Mastering the Hussle workshop, which will be starting here in a matter of minutes, actually. We're seeing about 2 o'clock, perhaps. And we have a great panel that's going to be kicked off with moderator Marco Collins. And some of the panelists will be Stephen Graham of The End, 107.7, Michelle Feghali of Sub Pop, and Gabriel Tidros, a musician out here. A lot of great personalities here, and I think we're about to go to Dirty Harry and TC, or no, we're not? Okay. We got a lot of great other people here. I think I saw Wands here just a second ago. And We also have, of course, Barry Von Mother you've heard from. You heard from Dennis Weaver. We've got KZ in the house. Jake is also here. You know, he runs a little studio right at Rainier Avenue Radio's headquarters, and it's called the Catalyst Labs. If you ever heard of it, it's some great things. So, yes, we're going to go right now to Dirty Harry and TC. Right here at KEXP.
All right, so I'm here with Dirty Harry, and I'm just going to be asking him a few quick questions, one of which, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I sure can. Been in radio since about 96, 97 in Seattle. Cube 93 was the home for about 21 years. And now RainierAvenueRadio.World is the home weekday afternoons 4 to 6 as I host the flagship show on the station.
So what got you interested into radio?
I came from the record business. I worked for Def Jam Records under the Russell Simmons umbrella, and Cube was one of my radio stations that I had to make sure all the records back in the day were being played. LL Cool J, Foxy Brown, Redman and Method Man, and Run DMC, and fell in love with radio. And I said, you know, radio is my calling. I want to be a radio host.
So what was it about, like, Def Jam Records, I guess? Because I hear a lot about, like, Def Jam and Russell Simmons. So what made you attracted to go there?
You know, I was given the opportunity. I was presented with an introduction and fresh out of school, and one thing led to the next, and it was definitely not an easy opportunity to get, but I was fortunate and blessed through the introductions, and I made it happen.
So fast forwarding now, what is your current show about?
My current show is the Traffic Jam. It's a music-based show, and I've got a great team. I've developed a big team. I've got my co-host, Fiza. I've got my boy, Chedanan Betta, one of the executive producers, James Street, another producer, D Money. I've got Isaac. I've got, DJ Flame, DJ Nebor, Kareem the Dream, just brought on a marketing person last week. So I've got a team of about 10 people on my team.
So it looks like Chad and Daniel Bills have another interview, so we're going to switch over to them, but
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Chad is here too. But yes, we're live at KEXP for the Mastering the Hussle workshop, which is starting in a couple of minutes here. But looking forward to it. A lot of great low-power FMs that we've been talking to, and we got another one here for you. KBFG's 107.3 North Seattle Zone. Pam Burton.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Hey, this is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Look at all the folks out here.
So what do you do for 107.3?
Well, I'm one of the people that helped start the station a few years back.
Okay.
Eager to do more radio. I've done radio for 20 years in Los Angeles.
Cool.
Before I moved to Seattle.
Cool. Yeah. So it looks like we're going to take the feed right now.
Okay, we're going live.
Yeah. So
I think this is going to be fun.
With others, including our panel, and we insist on safety, respect, and consent. In other words, please be kind to one another. KEXP is proud to partner with Mopop, King County, the Recording Academy, and Vulcan Arts and Entertainment to bring you this artist education series called Mastering the Hussle. It's a series of workshops that are designed to empower artists and pursuing a career in music. And today is about radio, and really excited because we have a radio fair going on with low-power FM stations and a streaming radio station here. There's going to be a Q&A to follow the panel, so please fill out the questionnaire on your seat, and I will be coming around to pick it up, and Marco will cue that, that moment. And today we are filming, so all of our workshops are posted at kexp.org, so if you want to check out past workshops or revisit this one, you will be able to at our website. Right now, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Marco Collins.
Let's bring up the rest of the crew. And then I'm going to read some bios. I was told not to read bios, but I'm going to make it really quick. First of all, my name is Marco Collins. I've worked in radio for years and years and years. Did my first radio show when I was 16 years old at a community radio station in Northern California. Worked in San Diego doing college radio. Started at a commercial alternative station called 91X in San Diego, and then in 1991 moved to Seattle to start a radio station called 107.7 The N, and was here for 8 years, and then honored to be back and working at KEXP. Now a much different vibe than it was in the 90s. That's for sure. I want to introduce you to our guests. To my left right here is Gabriel Teodros. He's a musician and writer from South Seattle who first made a mark with the group Abyssinian. Are you embarrassed about this? Come on.
I'm not embarrassed. I bet it's probably out of date, though, but go ahead.
Abyssinian, Creole, and reached an international audience with his critically acclaimed solo debut, Love Work. Teodros' music often features socially conscious themes, and he was a catalyst in the surge of dynamic underground rap acts from the Pacific Northwest during the first decade of the 2000s. He is currently a DJ here on KEXP and was a founding DJ for Zulu Radio on KBCS 91.3 FM. Sitting next to him is Stephen Graham, buddy of mine for a long time. Stephen works at 107.7 The End. He got started in Everett. He worked at the Everett Daily Herald newspaper. Spent 4 years as a founding partner in the Everett Music Initiative and 2 years with the Fisherman's Village Music Festival. In early 2000, Graham was asked to be a guest on The End's local music show, Locals Only. 10 months later, he became the host of the show and has been hosting the show for 4.5 years, where he works to provide a platform for local artists in the Northwest to educate listeners about music coming from our own backyard. And just got to meet her today. Excited to introduce Michelle Feghali. Michelle is from Brooklyn. She is from Brooklyn, New York, lived in Seattle for almost 2 years now. She works at Sub Pop as the radio manager, the radio promotions manager. Before that, she worked as an indie promoter at The Syndicate, an independent entertainment marketing agency. She went to Michigan State and was the music director at her college radio station, WBDM, Impact 89 FM. Outside of work, I'm going to read this. Outside of work, she loves tacos, playing piano, and walking her dog. Yeah, this is a dog-friendly city, that's for sure. So round of applause for our panelists who came in today. The first question I want to throw out to the audience, how many people here are musicians? Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, man. How many people are managers, or you're press folks, or you are an agent or an aspiring to work in the music industry? All right, all the way in the back there, I see you. Today's panel is going to be all about radio, all the different types of radio, how to navigate getting on the radio. There's a lot of topics we're going to cover in this next 2 hours. And again, I'm honored to be here and be a part of this crew. Before we move on, I kind of want to ask each person on the panel to tell us a little bit about how you got into radio and sort of what your journey into radio was like.
Yeah. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay. So I started as a fan, I think like all of us do, listening to the radio in the early to mid 90s. I used to listen to a show called Rap Attacks on a station called K-Fox that then moved to a station called KCMU that became KEXP. And I used to have my little pause cassette. I would make mixtapes just based on the songs that I was hearing on the radio. And I was kind of entrepreneurial as a youngster. I hit the 9th grade at Garfield High School, and I started selling mixtapes of songs that I recorded on the radio. So I like to think of those as my first broadcasts. So it was kind of always a dream to be a DJ and be on the air. Growing up in the neighborhood and the conditions that we grew up in, I couldn't afford turntables. I remember I bought turntables once when I was in 10th grade and had to return them a month later to help my mom pay rent, you know? So I went to rap because it was an accessible form of music, and it ended up being the one form of music or hip-hop that I was kind of okay at, so I stuck to it. And radio kind of was always this thing that I wanted to do, but it seemed impossible. And my friends, two of my best friends in life actually, King Chasm, who's now the founder of 206 Zulu, and DJ WD40, were at a basic broadcasting class at KBCS, and they had been tapped to start the first hip-hop show that KBCS ever had in so many years of its existence. Nasty Ness, who ended up, he's a Pinoy DJ from Seattle. He helped run Sir Mix-a-Lot's record label, for those that don't know, Nasty Mix. Nasty Ness is incredibly important for hip-hop in general. He's from Seattle. He was the first person to have a hip-hop radio show on the entire West Coast. And Nasty Ness got his basic broadcasting classes at Bellevue College at KBCS, but they wouldn't do a hip-hop radio show. So it was kind of a big deal for us to do Zulu radio at the time. Another friend, Barbie Danielle DiCarlo, talked to me at a show, and she said, "You want to do radio?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Get into this class," and just the timing of it all worked out. So I took a class, and yeah, it was 3 years at KBCS. Music took off, and I missed radio, so I hit up these guys and said, "Hey, how can I get a shot? You know, what do I got to do?" And they were gracious enough to hire me and give me a slot. So yeah.
By the way, Gabriel was on the air till 6 a.m. this morning. Went home, got 4 hours of sleep to come back to be in front of you guys right now. Yeah.
Thanks, yeah.
Talk about dedication. Stephen, how did you get into radio?
Well, like Gabe, I was always kind of obsessed with radio and always thought, wow, how cool would that be to get into that at some point. Did I do that? No, oh, okay. Okay. And I always wanted to try and I think this is, yeah. Thank you. I always wanted to kind of try and figure out how to get into radio, and it was just a thing that I thought would never, ever actually be possible. And somewhere along the line, I ended up meeting Marco and kind of got a little look behind the scenes, and was told by somebody at one point, if you want to get into the music industry in some way, you either need to go probably to LA or New York or start your own thing. And I noticed that my local newspaper did not have a music blog or anything regular about music that was like local. And so I reached out to the Everett Herald's web editor at the time, and they said, sure, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. And I did that for, I don't know, like 6 years or so. And at a certain point, got to know some other people who wanted to start doing some music festivals and putting on some shows in my community. And then was fortunate enough to meet a DJ at the end named Pepper, who ended up bringing me in just as a guest to help out with Locals Only one night, and then said, do you want to do this every week? I was, heck yes. I can't even believe that that's a question that could possibly be asked. And
with zero radio experience.
Yeah,
right?
I never had spoken into a microphone before, so it was a really crazy thing to have happen. And she took a chance on me, and then when she left the station, they asked me if I want to stick around and keep doing it. And now it's been 4.5 years of doing the show, and I every week can't believe I get to do it, and haven't been fired yet. So it's really remarkable, and like my favorite thing to do with my time.
Stephen, most people start in college radio and work themselves up. You went directly to the end. Like your first radio show was on a station with 50,000 watts. That had to have been a little bit intimidating.
Yeah, I remember actually my first week after Pepper left, when they said, okay, you're going to be doing it on your own, they actually had the production manager and a couple other people come in and just stand in the studio and watch me. And I had just kind of barely learned how to use the board a little bit from somebody who came in to just show me a few things, and I was like, this is going to be an absolute disaster. And I had a band in there that they could tell that I was having an absolutely nightmare of an evening. And it worked out, and they kept me, so it's I feel very fortunate.
That's awesome. Michelle, what's been your journey? I know you started in radio before you went to the label promotion side of things.
Yeah, I'm actually one of the stories that you say most people do. I started in college radio, WDBM at Michigan State University. I started there on their news team. I was in the media arts program at the school, and I wanted to get more involved doing some volunteer work, so I started on their news team, and then I kind of found the video work there and did that. And then I became a DJ, went to CMJ Music Marathon in New York, which is this festival that used to happen. Whoops. Sorry, guys. And yeah, I basically just kind of fell in love with radio through WDBM. I ended up applying to become the music director there and got the job. And that job, because of the wattage that my station had, we were pretty heavily influential in the college radio charts. So a lot of the indie promoters and labels in the indie world wanted to talk to me so that I could put their music onto our station. So I got to know a lot of people that way. I ended up talking a lot with the people from the syndicate in New Jersey. And then through that, right after I graduated college, they ended up giving me a job in their marketing department, and then I moved to their radio department. Did a lot there in the college and non-com radio promotions world, so I was basically doing the other side of what I had been doing at my college radio station. And it was great. I kind of got to work with like every band and label and company that I had ever wanted to work with, from like the tiniest band that had like maybe 10 fans to like major label stuff. So at that point...
Like who?
Like who?
Like who would we know of?
Oh, I got to work a lot with Portugal the Man. That was one of my favorites. Maggie Rogers. I'm a really big fan of Alex G, who's on Domino Records. There's a bunch. Honestly, we worked like 30 records at a time and maybe more. So I kind of got to know how every label did their work, and when Sub Pop opened up a position to have their be their non-com promotions person, I kind of knew that's what I wanted to do. I knew about Sub Pop, I knew about Seattle, and I was like, that could be cool. And somehow I got the job, and now I'm here.
Yeah. Awesome. Some of this stuff may sound foreign to you guys, like what's non-com. So I thought maybe what we could do right now is break down the different types of radio that there is. And, you know, you guys feel free to jump in if you want to say something. So there's non-coms, and you might hear that a lot. That's the kind of station that KEXP is. It's a non-commercial station supported by donors and underwriting. And underwriting is just, I mean, it's similar to advertising, but it's done more tastefully. At least I'd like to believe that it's more tastefully, having worked for commercial radio the better part of my life. And non-coms, it depends really on the station. Michelle and I were talking about this because to me it's a format that's the new wave of formats. And the non-com format is growing. And it's a format similar to KEXP in that the DJs get to choose, for the most part, you know, we'll talk about some of the different stations. They get to choose the records that they play. So a lot of you are artists here in the room and musicians, etc. When you're thinking about sending your music out, this should be the #1 group that you're thinking about. College radio is great, and we'll get into that too, because that's Michelle's definitely an expert on college radio. Your bang for your buck is non-coms, because non-coms they have wattage, they have community support, and it's just fantastic programming. Some of the stations I can think of, Radio Milwaukee, fantastic radio station. They have a similar live music room that KEXP does, so they can have bands come through, play live on the air, in front of an audience. It's a very similar thing, and the people that work there just rule. That's one of my favorites. Other non-coms. There's The Current. Yeah.
The Current in Minneapolis is really great. They're heavily influential in their community. They're always putting together different concerts and different events for their people that listen. And they're also very heavily influential in the hip-hop scene there, and putting out good hip-hop music to the audience.
Yeah. KCRW is another station that is considered a non-com. They're an NPR affiliate, so they run NPR. How much of their programming is NPR news?
A lot of it.
A lot of it.
Yeah,
so
I don't know the exact percentage.
Up until afternoon, I think from noon to like maybe 6 or so, it's all NPR. But the music that's, surrounds, Henry Rollins has a show on that station. It's just some genius programming coming from KCRW as well. And they've been known almost longer than KEXP has been known for their live sessions on YouTube with some just amazing artists. So non-coms are a format that we're very fond of here at KEXP. And again, the format seems to be growing. West or East Coast non-coms that people should be aware of?
WFUV in New York is the only non-com in that area and one of the best, I would say. I grew up around that one, so I'm biased, but they're pretty great. WXPN in Philadelphia is another big one. They also have one of the best shows for live sessions called The World Cafe that is syndicated throughout hundreds of stations across the country. They do really great quality work. There's so many. There's so many.
I
at this
stream
point.
them all the time just because I want to hear what they're doing that we might be doing differently. Because it's always good to borrow as long as nobody knows you're borrowing concepts.
Sure.
So there's non-coms, non-commercial stations. Then there's college radio, and that's typically student-run radio. That's where I started. My career was working at a station, a college music station in San Diego at San Diego State, and I became their music director. And it was right when it was a fantastic time to be doing radio because hip-hop was just sort of starting. So we were getting all these brand new, amazing hip-hop records, and it was just super experimental then.
Did KEXP officially start as a college radio station?
Yes,
I believe so,
at
yes.
UW. It was KCMU, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Was it students back then? Does anyone know?
It's a good question. Where's Charlize?
I would assume it was mixed,
Okay.
community and student.
All
That
right.
makes sense.
The nice thing about having Charlize here is that if there's something I don't know, I just can make her get on the mic in a heartbeat. College radio. Talk a little bit about college radio and what college radio does that's different than commercial radio.
Yeah, I mean, one of the main things, and it is very confusing because college radio is also non-commercial, as in they're not playing commercials. They're normally funded by their university or by their community. But college radio is really great. It's a good way for everyone involved to learn. The students that are involved or the community members to kind of learn how to use a board, how to be a DJ, how to run a station. Oh no. You're great though. You just made it work. But yeah, it's a great way for everyone kind of to learn, and it's a great way for developing bands to learn how to do a session, learn how to do an interview. There's about 400 college radio stations across the country, maybe more than that now. Some of them are very low power, don't have a lot of resources, but still have really excited, dedicated, enthusiastic people. And some of them are as big as my station, or a couple of the bigger ones is like CalX in Berkeley, KVRX in Austin, WPRK in Orlando. They have more resources and are able to do bigger things. And yeah, I mean, college radio is also very free form, which is cool. I like to think of it as the place where a lot of artists in the indie world can start. Really, a lot of artists in any world can start. And it might not always have the biggest reach, but I think that because so many people in the music industry start from college radio, it's just a great way to get yourself in there. Like, you never know where the music director that brought you in for this interview at this like really tiny Watt station is going to be in 5-10 years. Like, they could end up being like the person at Sub Pop that's like trying to sign your band. You just don't know. But yeah, I love college radio. I could talk about it forever.
Yeah, I love college radio too. I mean, you know, we're lucky enough to have high school radio here too. We've got, C89. We've got, is KGRG? No, that's college radio. Yeah, man, I did promotion for a while for a record label too, and I did college radio, and those calls are the most fun because you get to talk about real good stuff. You get to talk about bands that are new and doing new and dynamic things. I just remember, you know, some of the best college radio stations are the noisiest too. When I moved to Seattle, I had promoted records to KCMU. So one of my biggest bands, I couldn't get played on any other college radio station. They were a band called Godflesh, and they were really heavy and just, I mean, it was considered grindcore. And I couldn't get them on your traditional radio station, but on KCMU, they were like top 10. And it was amazing. So, you know, when I moved to Seattle, it was exciting to meet the folks from KCMU.
Yeah, probably
Who supported
around.
my ass.
Hell yeah. Probably around that time too. I didn't really get to experience this because I only started in college radio in like 2000, I don't know, 2012, something like that. But back in the 80s, from what I've heard, college radio was probably one of the biggest influencers for new music. There would be an actual college music journal or multiple different outlets
Right.
that would put out like the top 30 most played artists on college radio, and they were pretty influential in the community, and that could bring a band to get signed to a label, that could bring a band to move up to alternative radio really quickly.
Right,
It's not so much the same anymore because there's so much music out there and so many different ways that you can take in music that I think radio has kind of taken a backseat to that, specifically college radio in that way. But I always like to think about that time and how cool that was.
I just wanted to add the CMJs were a big deal even when my first album came out, like in 2007. Like getting on that chart meant the world, you know?
Yeah.
I thought my life was gonna change when I was at the top of the CMJ chart. Woo! Spoiler, it didn't.
Yeah, CMJ was a big deal. They had their yearly festival where every college kid in the entire country is just getting drunk beyond. I just remember some of those shows. In fact, I remember a CMJ show that your label put on.
Oh, yeah.
On a boat.
Oh, yeah.
With the band Codeine. Jesus Lizard, maybe? Or maybe it was just David Yao from the Jesus Lizard dove into the river. It was just a lot of booze.
That sounds right.
And it was just a lot of fun. College radio is a great place to launch new artists and learn the trade of radio.
Definitely.
There's also this thing that happened over the last several years where the FCC granted low-powered signals to different radio stations that applied. And we have quite a few of them here in Seattle. In fact, some of the folks that are here for the radio fair are some of those radio stations. And typically, they're 100-watt radio stations. They broadcast within a 3-mile radius, but they are very localized. You know, they're really focused on their neighborhoods and the community there. And the great thing about these folks, they're also very supportive of the local music scene. So when we're done with the panel here, we're all going to be hanging out for a while. I know I asked people to bring demos, so if you brought demos, I'll take those from you. But also, you want to talk to some of these folks that are here for the radio fair. We're going to be naming y'all in a little bit and talking a little bit about you. But to me, that's just groundbreaking, too, because that's just the FCC sort of opening up the radio waves to the community. And that's what's happened. Yeah, it's just, I mean, you know, it's just a constant source of information and available airwaves for local talent. So there's those folks. And then there's streaming radio. First of all, is KBFG here? Where are those folks? No, you guys are those folks. You guys almost do all local music, don't you? Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. Good for you guys. Round of applause for those guys. Yeah. Definitely, if you're in a band, you want to talk to all these folks. But yeah, those guys are doing a bang-up job. So thank you guys. There's also streaming radio, and we have a streaming radio station here as well. But there's a couple. There's one here in
Rainier Avenue.World, I believe it is.
Yeah. Where are they? Are they here? Right on. There they are. All right. And there's Seattle Wave Radio as well that plays pretty much all local music as well. So the streaming thing has really taken off as well. So now that we kind of identified that, I wanted to say, how many of you got questions little pieces of paper to fill out questions. Did you guys fill them out? Did you give them to Charlize? Because you should fill them out. We're going to be doing a Q&A. It's going to be like 45 minutes. So if you have a question, fill out one of those little cards. Charlize, where are you in the room? All right, so that's Charlize. You want to give her your little sheets of paper if you have a question. She's going to sort through those. Gabe, when you look at your involvement here at KEXP versus your being a musician, and this is kind of getting into the how do you submit your music to a radio station? How do you get that done? When you started, I didn't realize you had done radio all the way back in the day. When you submitted your music as an artist to KEXP, were you working here already?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah, no, my relationship with KEXP started as an artist. And KEXP was, I would say, one of the first radio stations to really get behind our music, like back in 2005. I didn't start working at KEXP until about 3 years ago.
Okay.
So it was a long time. What was the question, though?
So the question was, and we were thinking about this, was your opinion about sending music and servicing your music to radio stations, did it change once you started working at KEXP?
I kind of saw behind what the DJs were seeing for the first time. I don't know if it really changed my approach, because my approach was always, well, not always. So the first time I submitted music to KEXP, I didn't know anybody here really, and another Common Market, another group, friends of mine, they were like, just put your album in all these people's boxes. Yeah. You know, and The Stranger had given us our first write-up. Larry Mizell wrote it, you know, and we took like all these clips of The Stranger and we cut out the newspaper article and physically put CDs in all these different people's boxes, right? And that was my first time trying to service an album. We didn't know what we were doing.
Wait, you got that many strangers and you cut all the articles out?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Photocopied it.
Oh no,
we just cut the actual article out?
Cut the actual article out. Yeah, I know.
It feels so genuine.
It was so wasteful though. But awesome. you know, there was no guidebook. Nobody told us what to do really. That just seemed like a good idea at the time. So, and KEXP got behind us. Yeah, it was awesome. But from that point on, afterwards, it became all about, I realized real quick that it was all about developing relationships. And I think that's true for everyone in the room, no matter what you're working on in life, whether it's music, whether you want to be an artist, whether you want to work in the industry. Relationships are everything. They are gold. They will get you further than money. They will get you further than major label backing. Invest in relationships, honest, genuine relationships, and don't just approach DJs and approach different people thinking about what can I get from you, because that's where walls are going to start going up, you know. So I kind of realized that early on, that I needed to build actual relationships, listen to DJs, see if there was, if I liked what they played, there was probably a chance they were going to like what I sent them, you know what I mean? And following up with people, sending emails, but not harassing them either.
Right.
You know what I mean? I had to learn how to do all that. And my approach is still the same. Like when I put out my last album, it was largely like initially just sending out personal emails to friends saying, hey, I did this thing, I hope you like it, you know? But yeah, so my approach hasn't really changed, no.
So I guess the next topic is, how do you submit your music to a radio station? And I'll bet you a ton of people here want to know how to accomplish that effectively. And I'll tell you a little story. You know, people think that a station like KEXP is sort of untouchable, that it's difficult to get your music played on the station. And I disagree with that. And I was working with a band. I became friends with a band up on the hill called Killer Ghost. And they were sort of a just garagey, lo-fi, awesome band. And they had never really gotten any airplay on KEXP. All they had sent to KEXP was a 7-inch single, one 7-inch single, hoping the station would play it. And I don't think anything happened from it. So I sat them down and I'm like, let's take all of your songs. Let's take all the best stuff that you've recorded, because they were doing it in 3 different sort of cycles. So they didn't have a full album. I'm like, no, let's put it all on one record. So let's take your best stuff and resequence it so that the best stuff is at the front of the CD. And they're like, no, it doesn't work vibe-wise. I'm like, you're not getting your whole record played on the air. You're getting individual songs played on the air. So let's sequence it differently. Let's put all the good stuff at the... I look down at this dude. I'm like, no. Cut the swearing. Cut the swearing. Pretend you're on the air. So I put the best songs in the beginning of the CD, and I brought them to KEXP. So I literally walked them into the conference room and put little sheets of paper in front of them and said, all right, here's a list of the DJs here at KEXP. Write personal letters to each DJ. And they sat down and wrote letters, and they included one to our music director. So we have a music director that you officially go through, but that's not the only way you get airplay here at KEXP. So these guys sat down, wrote 10 letters to 10 different DJs, submitted it, put it in people's boxes like Gabe was talking about, and the next week they got added into medium rotation, which, going straight into medium rotation is awesome for a local band. And they were played on KEXP all the friggin' time for the next, month. And they were really surprised that the station embraced them like that. They just didn't know how to do it. They didn't know how it got done. And it's just not as scary as you guys would think. It's not something that you can't overcome. KEXP is the kind of station that will play anything if the DJ wants to. I was on the air last week, and I got an email from somebody in Portugal with a song. I played it 20 minutes later, because I listened to it, and I thought, God, this is brilliant. I'm going to play it. And they were shocked, to say the least. But that's the way it works, and that's the way you probably do your show.
Yeah, just to give you guys a little window into the process that I go into, at least, and I think a lot of us at KEXP go through to create our shows. It's I think it's different for every DJ, the sources that we pull from every single week. But I'm on late Friday nights to early Saturday mornings. Friday is New Music Day, so I love having that time slot to break as much new music as possible. When I say break, I mean play it for the first time, so it's constantly going through everything. I go through Spotify releases, the iTunes releases, I search my Instagram followers, I look on YouTube, there's lots of things that only went up on YouTube that I'll download and play if it resonates with me. I'm just constantly looking, and I'm constantly looking at my email. There's also one thing we didn't talk about, which is radio publicists. There's different radio publicists who do you want to talk about this, because I know
radio promotions people.
Yes.
The different indie companies that do it.
Yeah, there's these different indie companies where an artist or a record label will pay a radio publicist to basically service their album to all these different radio stations. But what they're doing is those radio publicists have relationships with us. And there's certain ones where I tend to really like their ear. I tend to really like the things that they push, so I always check for it, even if I don't recognize the name, if it comes from certain people. So that's another way that I find new music, is through that. And also, because I'm in the hip-hop genre, I feel like I have to say this. Getting radio edits is really important to getting radio played during the daytime.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, a lot of people will send you their stuff, and it's just cuss words all over it, and it's I could actually play it on the overnight show, but I can't help getting into rotation at the full station until I get a radio edit. And it's just, I used to, on KBCS, make my own radio edits of songs all the time, but it was so time consuming. So if artists, labels, what have you, do your due diligence and just edit out the cuss words, it'll sound better if you do it.
I try to do it sometimes, and it does not sound as good as when they do it in the studio.
Exactly, and it'll help get you into rotation quicker if your music resonates with people. So the radio edits are important. You can look up the 7 words that you're not supposed to say on the radio. You know, George Carlin made it famous, and just take those out of your songs, please.
So here's the thing about that, too. He can actually play that stuff. So we can play songs with curse words after 10 p.m. And, you know, the FCC guidelines, up until then, we have to have radio edits. But sometimes we do them ourselves, too. Like the new Frank Ocean came out last week, and I wanted to play it the next day. I'm like, I'm not waiting on this. So a buddy of mine, I had it outsourced. A buddy of mine did it and did a badass radio edit, and the station plugged it into heavy rotation after that. But in terms of local music, because I feel like I'm addressing that with you guys right now, there's a number of different ways to service your music to radio stations, and everybody is different. At least at KEXP, everybody is different. So John Richards, I know, prefers, if you're going to submit to him, he prefers you attach an actual file with a zip drive or whatever it is, or the actual song you want played, and a link to stream it. Because, and you know, that really works for me too. We'll get into whether or not how these guys feel about that, but I don't want to download your music if I don't like it, or if I don't think that it's appropriate. So send me a stream. I can listen to that stream, and then if I think, wow, I want to play this on my show, this is amazing, then I'll download the actual track. So you're kind of covering your bases there by including both things. Now, Steven feels differently about that. John Richards likes that. I know that Dawn, our music director, prefers CDs. So with KEXP, there's a process you go through to submit music. You have to submit, first of all, to our music director. It's not just the DJs that are making the choices. We do have music that's constantly coming in to the station, and we have one dude that goes through all of that music. And his name is Don Yates, and he's amazing at it. With the amount of music that guy goes through now, it's superhuman strength that he actually listens to everything that comes through there. I'm shocked. Like, he literally shuts his office door, and from the moment he gets in to the moment he leaves, he's listening to music. Now, Don prefers CDs. I'll send him, you know, I'll attach a track if I find something really great, but he prefers CDs be submitted to the station. John feels differently. I'm sure Cheryl feels differently. Everybody's sort of got their thing. Charlize, you want to jump in? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Charlize.
I just wanted to clarify just what Marco's talking about. So he's specifically talking about Dawn picking music for rotation. So rotation is completely separate than the individual DJ. Rotation is what Dawn picks for the whole station to play, and that's what you hear on the variety mixes. For the specific DJs, you can submit your music to a DJ, and they make that decision on what they want to play on their shows. And Gabriel can speak more to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's at a station like KEXP, and I'm sure it's different at every station. The DJs here, we only play what we like, right? There's when I was hired, it was a rule. Like, if you play a song and you don't like it, even if it's in heavy rotation, take it off the air, you know? But even with that, there's a ton of new music that's constantly added to what's called heavy, medium, light, and RN. Is that reoccurring new? Yeah. And within every hour of a variety show, we're supposed to play 2 songs from heavy, 2 songs from medium, 1 from light, 1 from reoccurring. So if you get in heavy rotation, it's guaranteed that every DJ at KEXP is at least going to consider playing your song. It's not a guarantee that they're going to play it, but there's a high probability that you've gotten heavy, that you're pretty good, and everyone's going to listen to it. Same with medium, because it's a small pool of music to pull from. And the reason KEXP does that is to get us constantly listening to new music. Like he said, Don is constantly like researching new stuff. So if we do that at least, then everybody here at KEXP is constantly like sifting through new music, and it goes through all genres, and that's a little bit how the rotation works here at KEXP. Another cool thing about this station is we're also required to play one local song every hour of every show. Most DJs do more, but we're required to play at least one local song every show. In addition to Audio Oasis, which is an all-local show that Charlize hosted for, what, a decade? And now Ava Walker hosts, and yeah, it's awesome. So.
Yeah, so I'm glad she made that distinction, that there's rotation, but even if you don't get into rotation, you still have an opportunity to get played. Absolutely. So there's, you go directly through the DJs then. That's why, to me, it's important to service both. You go for the music director who's going to potentially put you into rotation. He says no, you still have an opportunity to get played through the individual DJs. All of our DJs are up on our website, I think with email addresses.
With email addresses.
Yeah. That's definitely the avenue. Personally, I like, I don't mind getting the emails, but I like something physical to hold on to. So I get a lot of vinyl service to me. I get a lot of CDs service to me. Now, when you're servicing your music to a radio station, well, first of all, let's stay on topic. Stephen, when you are serviced music, how do you prefer to get music?
Because space, whether it's digital or physical, is just like such a premium all the time. I used to love getting CDs and vinyl. I just don't have anywhere to put it anymore. It's like all the shelves are full, and I feel really bad when you guys make something that you really care about and you send it to me, and I'm like, there's nowhere for me to put this. And so if you want to send an email, locals only at 1077theend.com. Send me links to stream it, a Dropbox link where I can stream it and download it. It's really hard when you send an attachment of a file, because those WAV files are large, and I'm constantly running out of space in that locals only inbox, which then makes it so other people can't get their emails through with their music. So if you can send a link just to stream it, if we want to move forward with it, we'll send you a response asking for a file to be able to download it so that we can play it on the show, and then it doesn't impede other people being able to get their stuff in as well.
Do you ever stream stuff live, either of you guys?
Yeah.
All
the time.
You do.
I don't, but the thing I'm not famous for it, but in my head I'm famous for it is like while a song is playing, if I really want to play a song and I realize like I don't have it on my computer and it's not in our system, I will download it on the spot and play it like within a minute.
Right.
After downloading it. So I do that constantly.
Got it. I have a lot of guests who come in that request stuff when they're on.
Yeah.
But I didn't get it in advance, and so we'll end up just streaming it. Or
I know you do, because I've heard your damn show. I do it all. And I've heard the stream drop out in the middle of the song, and I'm like, it's commercial radio. What are you doing?
So I'm just terrified of that. That's why I'll download it first.
It has happened a few times. I try to avoid it. You hammered me the last time you were on the show about this, and I'm
the quality of the sound.
You're
on commercial radio.
I'm not pleased you're bringing it up again right
now. Michelle, when you service music, working at Sub Pop, what formats do you service? What do college radio stations want? Or commercial or non-com?
I can go through all of them. I mean, at college radio, sometimes they don't always have the resources to have a digital system. That's definitely more advanced these days. So a lot of them do want CDs. I normally end up sending out about 200 CDs to the main stations that really want them. And then I normally hire an indie that works with me to do college radio promotions. So they have their own website that hosts digital files, and then they'll send out an email to all the people that want the music directors at the stations, and that's kind of how they get their music. And along with that too, within all of these servicings, I feel like besides the stream, the download, and the name of the band and the song, I always appreciated when I was a music director having the story behind it. Really anything that can just set you apart is great to have. When I'm pitching things at Sub Pop, a lot of times like music directors and program directors get so much music all the time. There's so much out there. So the more that you can just set yourself apart and have your story, have like any press that you have where you're from in case they can connect with you in that way. and just being as authentic as you can is really important too.
Yeah, that's very good. Great. I'm happy you brought that up because we didn't even talk about the one sheet, you know?
Yeah, that's really what all that is.
Yeah, everything she described is something that you would put on a one sheet, which is it's basically like a sheet of paper that you would include with your CD, or digitally it's like in your email when you service somebody, and it has exactly that. Like, and I prefer quick to the point.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We don't have time to read.
Yeah,
what to include on a one sheet.
Yeah, but say as much as you can in a short amount of time, because we're going through like tons of emails constantly, and it may sound corny as an artist especially. I hated like having to come up with this, but as a DJ I really appreciate it. There's a line in every one sheet that says RIYL, recommended if you like. And then it lists a ton of artists that, like, you know, for me, I think mine was like recommended if you like Brother Ali, Diggable Planets, you know, I don't know, Tribe Called Quest. I can't even remember who was on there. But that lets me know if I've never heard of this artist and I have no clue and no context of what this is, that if I like these other things, I'm probably going to like this, and it'll get me to listen to it before I listen to things where the recommended if you like sentence says a bunch of artists I don't like. You know, so that sentence really helps me.
As
I don't
an
know
artist,
how y'all feel about it.
As an artist, I know you don't want to compare yourself to somebody
painful,
else.
I know,
but it helps us immensely if I see you write recommended if you like Sigur Rós or whatever. It gives me an inkling of what you sound like, and it's really helpful from our perspectives.
Yeah, and if you hate doing that, you could always put words that describe your music. I know some people hate putting genres to their music as well, but any descriptors are good, and if that also doesn't work for you, having influences could also be helpful, so at least you can get a background of what you're inspired by when you're making your music.
Well, in addition to the one sheet, and I'm going to say something that goes completely against what I said just a little bit ago, when you were talking about something to set yourself apart, I did get some vinyl from a band recently, and inside of it, they didn't have not one thing about their band. Nothing at all. They hand wrote a note off like a little mini spiral notebook thing, like you'd make grocery lists on, that literally just said, "Crank it." And that showed up at the station, and I was like, this is so rad. And I went home that night and repaired my record player that has been down for months that I keep going, I'll get to it. I went home and repaired it that night just to listen to it, and I was like, this is so badass. It was great.
So that's an exception to the rule.
Yes, it is, but I was like, this definitely got my attention.
What's the weirdest thing that you all have gotten? Because when I was in college, I once got delivered a pizza, and then I also got a condom with the album art on it.
I had a stripper deliver a record.
What?
Wow.
A stripper.
Do you remember the band?
It was a band on Epitaph. I can't remember who it was, but they sent a male stripper for me.
Hot.
Which at the time I was not out.
Also hot.
And so there was, my entire company was having a conference in our conference room. So there's a cop with a boombox stripping.
So were you trying to act like you weren't enjoying it, or what? Like?
No, I wouldn't enjoy. I was not out of the closet. I was still deep in the closet.
Did you play their song though?
I can't. I just remember being really angry about that. I laugh about it now.
Know your audience.
And the promotion guy and I are still really good friends. Robbie Lloyd, we're still really good friends. He's at Interscope now. But I was like, dude, that is just not cool.
Questions from the audience.
Yeah. Well, wait. We're not done with the one sheet. I do want to point out that it's important on the one sheet to give some kind of bio. Like, don't be so abstract and arty that we have nothing to hold on to. A buddy of mine sent me his bio the other day, and I'm like, all right. So for the first 4 paragraphs, it's la 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 blah blah blah. You know, unicorns and whatchamacallit, like all stuff that's beautifully written, but it means nothing to me as a DJ. I need to know the facts. Like, give me, if you want to put, like I said, the recommended if you like artists, that helps. But some kind of bio. But it's also important to let us know what are the tracks that we should focus on, because we don't have a lot of time to be listening to your whole record, and maybe you suck at sequencing and your big hit is number 11 on your record. we might not get to that song. So put a note on there. Try these tracks first. Number 11, number 3, number 4, and then also, very, very important, if you can't do a radio edit of your own stuff, then we need to know which tracks have swear words. So,
the FCC warning.
FCC warning on which tracks. Doesn't mean we won't play them. It just means they'll get played after 10 p.m. So those are the really important things. I'm a fond believer in also including a personalized letter to who you're sending it to. Not everybody needs that. Not everybody wants that. I just think it's a personal touch that makes it feel like that artist actually cares about me, and I'm not just a blanket mail out.
It adds something. I notice it. Even if I don't take the time to respond.
Right. Yeah.
I notice it.
Yeah, sure. And they use your name, and they're like, "Hey, heard your last show." The thing too, and I've heard Charlize say this, kind of do your homework about who you're sending this stuff to. Yes. If you're sending it to Michelle Myers here at the station, do you guys listen to her show? Do you know Michelle's show? So you know what she plays, right? You're not going to send something that might not be up her alley. Kind of know your audience. Know who you're sending it to and target that audience. If John plays a lot of, stuff that sounds like the 80s, then, and you're in a synth band, target that guy. That guy is perfect. And say that you recommend it if you like New Order. You should always say that to John. He will listen to your stuff. If you say recommend it, if you like New Order, bam, you go to the front of the list.
One of the most important things for me is doing the local shows. I just want to know where you're from. Because I love being able to connect the listeners this is somebody from your community. If it's somebody listening in, Snohomish, I had an artist from Snohomish last week. I love being able to say that because when was the last time I had an artist from Snohomish on the show? A lot of times it's Seattle, but if I get somebody from Olympia or Tacoma, it's just really great to know, I can spread this out a little bit around sort of the greater Seattle area and not just have it always be Seattle artists. So it's a great thing to know. And I do get a lot of blast emails from radio service companies that don't say where it's from, and I'll listen to it and I'll be like, hey, this is rad. Oh, it's from Boston. Well, that doesn't help me. I mean, I'm going to listen to it on my own, but I'm not going to play it on the show.
Yeah, another important thing I would say that's kind of past the knowing your DJs and having your backstory in there. If you're trying to get on, actually a lot of the non-com stations that I pitch to and then a lot of the commercial stations, there are a few other things that go into that. A lot of them really look at streaming numbers. So if you are a band that has a following on streaming, like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, what have you, put those numbers in or try to get those numbers. It's not always possible. I know it's hard, but it's good to have. Put your touring history. If you toured with bands that you think the station would like or you think that they've played before, that's always helpful. Really any kind of hype info that you have is definitely important to put on there.
I would also add to both of those, if you're on tour and you're coming to that city where that radio station is, super important. We like, as DJs, to be a service to our community, to let us know what's happening in our area. So, having the music for touring bands is great.
So let's cut to some questions right now. Riley writes, what's the appropriate way to approach local radio DJs dealing with mixed signals of get to the point and send links versus be friendly and don't cut to the chase so fast? We kind of address that.
Talking about that all
yeah,
time.
Know your audience. Know who you're sending this stuff to. Don't make it blanket. Do your homework on this stuff, especially if you're targeting a station like KEXP. Just do your and the end too.
Well, how do you guys feel about getting people blowing you up on your personal social media? I know it happens.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, for the most part, I won't pay attention. Oh, can I say one thing that we really don't like? I don't like. I think a lot of other DJs don't like is when you get all your friends to request the song at the same time. Woo! I know it seems like a good idea at the time, but we notice and we really don't like that.
Yeah, so that can become. I sort of feel.
Maybe that's personal.
Yeah. I feel differently about that a little bit because I've worked in radio for so long that I've had so many bands, and I don't blame bands for emailing me or having their fan base sending an email out to their fan base saying, request us. I get that. I get it 100%. There's a happy medium here. We're not completely telling you not to do that, or I'm not telling you not to do that. Just walk that line. Don't be overkill. If you have an audience, like if we're on the air and we haven't even listened to your demo and we've got 50 emails during a radio show, that can be overwhelming. And if anything, that can kind of be a bummer and make us think like, that it just make us think more negatively of your project.
I know for me, it just feels inauthentic. When I get a ton of those kind of like messages from somebody that's clearly like, y'all aren't even listening to this radio station right now.
Right.
That's the thing that like, that's the reason I don't like it.
Right. And on the other side of the ticket, I understand. I get it, man. Because how else do you motivate a station to play your stuff? And I would say maybe the solution there is work. There's no when you send your music to a DJ or you drop it off here or whatever, you can follow up. Like there's no problem following up. But I wouldn't follow up. So we kind of have a rule at KEXP, like 6 to 8 weeks. Like follow up, and if we haven't chosen to play your music, and this is where it gets tough. Radio is subjective. All of our choices on the radio is subjective. If we choose not to play you, it doesn't mean you suck. It means that you didn't quite fit what we were trying to do in our show. And I've had experiences where there was this one band I didn't like at all at a station that I worked at in Sacramento. And they were popular, but I didn't like them. Nevertheless, I didn't want to play them on my show. So they did the whole thing. They, had their audience bomb me with emails requesting them, and I didn't like it. So I went out to do an event, a radio station event at like Car Toys or some darn place. And they came out and they picketed the event. They picketed the event, but they did it in a nice way. They did it in a funny way. And I just looked out and went, wow, these guys are the hardest working. Like they got all their friends, all of their friends to come out with signs saying, please play. So they weren't saying, they weren't picketing in a negative way. They were just picketing saying, please play us. And you know what? The next week I played them. I mean, if somebody's working that damn hard, how do you not play them? I had to give them props for that. They organized this whole thing, and I was embarrassed at first, but I ended up playing them, man. We want you guys to succeed as well, and it's super, working on our end of things, we get so much. I was going to bring out the stack of records that I have in my box just to show you guys what kind of stuff we get weekly, but it's insane, man. And the emails on top of that, it's just we don't have enough time. We don't have assistants. So as DJs, we're going through it. Now, a music director might have an assistant that they can work through it, but it just takes a while. So there's nothing wrong with following up. Just be cautious on urging your fan base to bomb us with emails requesting your band, especially if you haven't gotten any airplay yet. That makes it even more obvious that it's a setup. It's not just legitimate fans freaking out over this band that they love. All right, another question. Riley, thank you, Riley. Joey from Jetlag, one of my favorite local bands here, says, how do I get good contact info for the stations? Individual emails for the right people. Online info is often outdated. I'm gonna throw that your way.
That can definitely be tough. I guess it kind of depends on the station too. A lot of what I did at the Syndicate, which was the indie promo company I worked for, was I took bands that were smaller, that had a little bit of money, that needed the help, and I was able to have them hire me, and I would just do it for them. Which I know not everyone has those resources, but definitely look into companies like the Syndicate, Terrorbird, Cosign, Tiger Bomb, Team Clermont. You can come up and ask me after. But there's a lot of companies that will do it for pretty cheap that can help you out there and make those connections for you. It's really tough if it's not online. If they have a set on their station, maybe try calling in during their set. Maybe try contacting them that way. Maybe try, I don't know. I feel like if they don't have their email address up, it's probably for a reason, and you might have to just submit blindly to the station in the info box on their website. You never know.
Right. That part's tough, and it depends on what kind of radio you're looking for. If you're talking about KEXP, here's who to send it to. You send it to Michelle, Dawn. No, I'm not going to list everybody off. But I imagine in terms of jet lag stuff, it would be college radio. With college radio, I wouldn't say send it to all the DJs. I'd say send one to the music director, because I think that could be a little costly to send every DJ at every college radio station. With a station like KEXP, you're focused, you're Northwest, and maybe other non-coms. Would you recommend that people send, their records to Ann Litt specifically at KCRW?
Yeah, I mean, listen to Ann Litt's show. She's the new host of Morning Becomes Eclectic there, which is one of the most popular shows on any station really in the country.
Worldwide.
Yeah, listen to the DJs that you like. Figure out what they like you said, and pitch your music if you think it makes sense. You never know. You really never know.
I know. So like for locals only, I know that information's pretty easy to find on the radio station's website. But we have people oftentimes who don't find it or they don't look for it, and they'll just go straight to the N's Facebook page or Twitter and send a message going, "Hey, I'm in a local band. I don't know how to get this to you guys," and they always make sure that it gets to me. So if for some reason you're not able to find it on their website, try their social media channels, because they're probably putting up content constantly and seeing the way that you interact with them there.
One other thing I guess you could do, I mean, there's a lot of different things you could do, but if you're trying to get in with a certain station in a market, maybe try playing a show there, touring there, affiliating yourselves with other bands that are on the station. If you know other local bands that have their music played there, maybe hit them up and see how they got their start there.
So also, there's a big difference between commercial and non-commercial radio. A lot of people know that, but I'm going to kind of pretend that you don't. To get your music on a commercial station, target the local music shows. Target the new music shows. Because getting your songs into a regular rotation on a station like The End or KISW or whatever is really difficult. And typically you have to have support that's bigger than just being a local band. Now with The End, Steven just told me about a program, like back in the day we used to play tons of local stuff, but things have changed over the years, and I was unaware that The End has a program that they play. What exactly?
So we have Locals Only Artist of the Month, where every month I pitch the music director and program director 3 or 4 songs from local artists that I'm really into that I think would be a good fit. And then they kind of pick from that and go, okay, yes, this is what we're going to do. And for that month, we showcase them on social media, on our website. We get information up about them to kind of help the listeners connect with this particular local artist or band. And we play them every single day on the station, not just on Sundays when I do Locals Only. And I know because the other DJs
how many times a day?
Well, at least once, but I know that every DJ is always looking for content and something to talk about, to the point where just about every DJ plays the Locals Only Artist of the Month one time during their show every day, is what I've noticed from listening and what the feedback I've gotten from the other DJs at the station.
Name some of the bands that have been in that program.
Oh, we just had Chong the Nomad, Cataldo. Yeah, Chong the Nomad's great, right? Oh gosh, we had Versing earlier this year. You know those guys, right?
Yeah, they're on Hardly Art.
Yeah. There's been a lot of Dude York. There's been some good ones this year. So many great local albums this year. It's been crazy.
But that's so. The only reason I'm pointing that out is that's unusual for commercial radio to step out like that. And I was unaware that you guys played local bands in rotation.
Ooh, right now it's Ben Zadie.
Oh, Ben Zadie. I
Really
love that
amazing.
guy, too.
You turned me on to Ben Zadie.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that does exist, but to a large degree, you get to target the cool shows on the station. Every station has a Sunday night programming where it's either local bands from that city or it's a new music show. Let's say you're touring, and I'm thinking specifically about jet lag. I would, if you wanted to do a tour and you wanted to go down the West Coast, I would hit the non-coms. So I'd hit KCRW in LA. I'd hit the big commercial ones like Calex and Berkeley. And then I would even go to like stations like 91X in San Diego has a new music show that they're willing to play anything that's good. Find out what pockets in what markets there's commercial stations with cool shows that might play your music, and go to the website, figure that out on the website. You know, does K-Rock have any? They have local music programming.
Yeah.
They don't really have a new music show though.
No, not
it's all
really.
local stuff. Figure out what those are. Hit the commercial stations, hit the college stations, and hit the non-coms, and also hit the smaller targeted. You know, I'm trying to. I know the Northwest has a ton of these low-powered FM stations, but I'm not sure about the rest of the country. How many exist in the rest of the country? We're lucky to have all of these folks here. But that's what I would do. Target applicable places that could play your music.
And can I say something? Just depending on your genre, like especially like with hip hop, for example, genre I'm in, a lot of times we didn't try to hit the whole station because we just knew this station doesn't play a lot of hip hop. But we researched and found the specialty mix shows, and we didn't care if it was non-com, if it was college, if it was anything. If they focused on the type of music that we made, we were sending them our music. So think about that too when you're reaching out to radio stations. You might want to focus on the specialty shows in addition to your music directors and everything else.
And I wanted to just mention on the topic of specialty shows, we've talked about locals only quite a bit, but Kevin, will you raise your hand real quick? Kevin Deers right here hosts a really rad show on KSW called Loud and Local that, yeah, this guy right here deserves a lot of love for the great work that he does. And we have some crossover with some of the artists that he has come through, stuff that I play on my show. And reach out to this guy. He'll be around.
Awesome. Laura Lavi writes, is there, I can't, maybe value? Yes, value. In hiring a radio promoter at Pirate Radio? Laura, where are you? Say what you meant. Okay.
We're saving your pennies and trying to get a decent radio promoter to step in early stage. So everyone can hear the question?
Yeah. No, I don't mind at all. Come on up. Yeah, we gave you one of the bad mics.
So the question is, there's a lot of folks here that are early stage that might be DIY, and they have to figure out what to do with their dollars. And so they're bombarded with people online that tell them to go try to push some promoter to push them on Spotify playlists. For people here, you touched on radio promoters, but for early stage, are radio promoters someone you actually trust, so that if we spend our dollars on that, is that a good use of money? Or what are your thoughts? Pirate Radio being one for rock, for example.
Pirate, do you mean Pirate Promotions? Mm-hmm. Okay. So there are different indie companies, like I said. We can go through all of them. I've known the guys at Pirate for a long time. They're very genuine people. Most of them are pretty authentic and not just there to take your money. But the big part about hiring those types of people is that it's their sole job to make relationships with those types of stations. So besides having the contact info, they're also going to have the relationships and the trust from the stations that they have the taste that you're going to want on your station. So I think it is important. You can always work with the different types of people to figure out what budget works for you, and they can always kind of cater your campaign to that. But I do think it's important. It just kind of depends on what your budget looks like. Sometimes maybe instead of hiring for a small radio campaign, you start with press, or you start with, I don't know, like videos. Like, there's so many different things you can do to promote your music, but at the end of the day, if you're going to get bigger, at some point, you're going to want to have all of them.
Yeah. And radio should only be like, it's for everyone. Radio should only be like one part of your strategy, right? Like there's radio, there's press. In my experience with working with different radio publicists, it's most impactful when you're touring at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then you can book the in-studios, book the interviews as you're traveling while your publicist is in touch with all these different radio stations and maybe playing your music. I can't stress that enough.
I would say social media, too.
Social media is important, yeah.
Yeah, to keep in touch with your fans. I know sometimes it can be annoying to have that presence, but it really does make a difference, especially if you're on social media and you hear a song on a station, or you hear your song on the station, to shout them out and thank them. I know that means a lot to a lot of people connecting that way.
Also, I would say before you spend your money with anybody, try and find people that they've worked with before that you can get some sort of reference from, because I've gotten to know plenty of bands who have spent thousands of dollars on a publicist, and it's somebody who just, they have relationships, but they do so much work with so many people that it almost kind of starts to fall on deaf ears, I think. You see 6 emails a week from the same company, and it's kind of like, I can't keep track of all this. But then there's that one that works with a few select people, and they always kind of get you because they haven't divided your attention as much. So I would say, get some references, try and find people that have, if it's publicists, radio promotions, even labels. Just try and find people that have some experience with that company before you hand over your dollars.
This is tricky, too, because there's people out there that aren't, that don't have the most scruples, who will take your money in a heartbeat and not really do much for you. So this can be tricky. I reached out to a company with the band I was working for, and they have a great, relationship with KEXP, and I sent them the band, and they're like, yeah, it's just not big enough for us. And I was shocked because I thought that they handled really underground stuff, but they were like, they felt that the band didn't have a certain cachet that they wanted to work.
That could be it. They also might have just not liked it and just gave you an excuse. I hope that's not what it was, but you never know. I mean, and there's always another company that can do that for you that probably has a great relationship, if not better. It just depends.
Okay. I know all of us are going to be hanging out for a little while and talking to you folks. I'm going to throw one more question out, and then if you weren't able to get a question in, come talk to us and talk to the folks that are here in the room as well. This one is from, I feel like we've already addressed this. Was that yours? Let's see. If you're trying to get the better station, cast a wide net. Already talked about that. All right, Caden, this better be a good one. Do you have to sign with a label to get your music on the radio?
No.
No? But
We can help a lot, though.
to get on a major, on the commercial radio stations, I'm gonna say this completely from a hip hop perspective. There is what we call a glass ceiling, where you will have to have that major label support to get on, the iHeart Medias of the world, the Cube 93s, the radio stations where you hear the same 10 songs every single hour, all day, every day. Like that glass ceiling, even Macklemore had to hire a major label to service his songs to get on that radio station.
I mean, there is, Chance the Rapper. He doesn't have a label. But it is few and far between.
It's few and far between.
And
a
he
lot
does
of
have a team.
And a lot of times they hire.
Yeah.
Is Chance getting serious airplay?
I'm sure he is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't avoid him.
You can't avoid him at this point.
It's like post. I don't know. Like I do this whole workshop a lot of times. Like I do it for all ages. I do it for middle school, high school, college, where I talk about specifically in hip hop. Like we pre and post 1996, right? There was this rap apartheid that Dart Adams coined that term that happened with major radio and mainstream rap. To be quite frank, that had all to do with the way commercial radio treated rap, and I say pre and post 1996, 97, because that was the year the Telecommunications Act became law that gave corporations complete control over the amount of radio stations, newspapers, magazines, newspapers that they own. It went from like 20 radio stations in the market that one company could own to unlimited amounts, and the playlist across genres completely changed overnight, you know what I mean? And it became all about like selling these little chunks of time the way you sell used car sales off a lot. There's a brilliant film, and KEXP's featured in this film. It's called Before the Music Dies, where they go in depth and talk about like the beginnings of Clear Channel, which became iHeartMedia. And I would say I'll try to summarize this, between 97 and 2012, it just seemed like this bleak time in mainstream rap where you really had to have that major label support to get on that station. And I'm gonna say like post 2012, like the internet really started leveling the playing field, and you could be like a Chance the Rapper. You could be somebody that like really like makes an internet name for yourself and might get a little bit of buzz on the mainstream stations. But it's still like, over there, it's all about like greasing their pockets. Like it's way different. That's why we didn't focus on commercial radio. But they all said no. I'm saying, yeah, you do need to have a major label to get on certain stations.
Yeah.
Not these ones, not those ones. No. That's why we love y'all.
Yeah, in terms of radio, maybe we can just leave it with, target. Just be smart about trying to get radio play. Don't go beating your heads in with stations that'll never play you. Like, really focus on those who will and those who care about your music.
Yes.
And anything else you guys want to say? No? All right. Let's thank our panelists today. Thank you guys very much. And,
how about Marco?
Hey. And ladies and gentlemen, it's Charlize again.
All of the panelists and Marco are going to be hanging out after. I also want to call out Kevin. Kevin and I went to college radio together at KGRG, and his show was right after mine. And he did the mentorship opportunity, or he was a mentor today, which is a program that Mopop offers right before all of the Mastering the Hussles. And so this is the last Mastering the Hussle of this year, but we're going to start up again in 2020. And you can find out about those on our website, kexp.org, and on Mopop. But Kevin is here, so if you want to talk to him about KSW and radio, please talk to him. All of the low-power FM stations are here for you to talk to and connect with, and the streaming station in the back. And also, all of you who are musicians and artists, I also want to say that KEXP and most DJs are really accessible, and all you have to do is go onto the website and check out where their email addresses are listed. So if none of your questions were answered today, or you have more follow-up questions, you can find any of us online and ask questions. And if you want to talk to Michelle, I don't think your email address is public, but you can ask Michelle for her email. I want to thank our partners, the Recording Academy, King County, Mopop, and Vulcan. And I want to thank all of you for coming. This has been amazing to see everyone in the room. And I want to thank a couple of internal people, the events team, or Andrea, who's representing the events team, Brandon, who's on audio, Luke and Amber on video, Brady on photo, and all the volunteers, donors, and staff that make these workshops possible. So thank you very much.
We are live at KEXP. This is Rainier Avenue Radio.World, and we're having an amazing time out here with a lot of radio personalities, radio people, musicians, DJs, talk show hosts, and everything else is happening right out here, right now. Oh, I'm on camera. I'm live on Facebook. Hey, family. How y'all doing out there? What's happening, everybody? We're going to be out here until 6 p.m. Is that 6 p.m.? To 5 p.m. Come on out. He said to midnight, to 5 p.m. So listen, if you're out there and you're listening to us and you're interested in radio, any part of radio, you're interested in how you can get your music played on radio, how to get involved in the radio industry, come on down here right now to KEXP, down here on First Avenue, and get all of your questions answered. There are tons of people, look behind me, who are all a part of the radio world, who are here to serve you, answer your questions, and talk to you. Hello, how are you, sir? Wilbert, come on over here and talk to us.
He's a musician.
This is a musician. Yeah. We'll get on over here and talk to us. You are on RainierAvenueRadio.World. Have you heard of our radio station?
No, I have not.
Well, then welcome. What's your name, young sir?
Xander.
Xander. You're also live on Facebook, so look into the camera. So, Xander, tell the people who you are and what you're doing here today.
I make music under the name Piscato Music, and I'm here just to, get my name out there, I guess.
You said to get my name out there. Okay, Piscato Music. Should I call you that or should I call you Xander? He said it doesn't matter. So what kind of music do you do?
Really just anything I feel like making. Anything I really feel like making. Like, generally alternative stuff, but yeah, it's just whatever.
And when you say you make music, do you play instruments? Do you sing? Do you rap?
I do. I play guitar, and I'm trying to teach myself some piano. I'm always trying to get better at my vocals and stuff. But yeah, pretty much anything goes. I have like a keyboard setup that I do, and I do everything in Pro Tools. So I have like sometimes incorporate like synths or like other keyboard sounds into my music.
Now, how long have you been playing music?
I've been playing guitar for like 4 years. I really started getting into like the recording stuff about a year ago. So.
Said I started to get into the recording stuff about a year ago. Look at this young genius. I love this. How old are you, sweetie?
I'm 12. I'm turning 13 in 2 weeks.
Okay. So, see, that's really important right now. Like, for you to say I'm turning 13 in 2 weeks. But when you get to be around 40-something or 50, you're going to be trying to slow that thing down. You're going to stay the age that you are. Okay, so you got into the recording thing about a year ago. So what sparked that, and why did you go from playing an instrument into wanting to record?
I mean, my brothers were just always introducing me to new music and stuff, so, like, just kind of listening to music and seeing, like, conceptual albums or, like, seeing all these different ideas being introduced into music kind of inspired me, since it's basically just so many mediums just being, like, put into one, and so it's just kind of like, oh, music is just really awesome, and I never really noticed that until about a year ago, and then I was like, I really want to get involved in this more, because I used to be really interested in film, but like I could kind of realize that you could, film and music kind of go hand in hand, and you can really incorporate all these different ideas in the music, and that's just such an amazing idea to me.
Absolutely. I mean, you just spoke incredible truth there, because music in itself tells a story, and everyone is telling their story, whether you're singing or you're playing instruments or you're arranging music. Everyone is telling a story. Have you ever just listened to a movie and without watching it and just listen to the music?
I've never done that, but that is an interesting idea.
Yeah, if you do that, you'll have an idea of what's going on. You can tell by the music if there's something sad that's happening. You can tell when there's like love interest that's going on. You can tell when there's an adventure or a big fight that's happening, and you can tell suspense. When something suspenseful is going on, you will feel it just by the music. So do that. Pay attention to the music, and you actually just explained that, the intricacies of how music and film all work together to tell a story. That is amazing that you understand that concept at this age. Give a high five. Too slow. Anyway, so tell me, you came here today because you have obviously a goal. So what is your goal right now in your music?
I don't know. I want people to, see what I'm doing, and I want to be able to show people, like, young people can make music too. Young people can make good music, and, it's, our generation is going to keep thriving, I guess. My generation is going to thrive.
You're absolutely right. Well, you came to the right place. So when you get off air here, I want you to stop over at the table and talk to some of the people about RainierAvenueRadio.World. Not only do are a community radio station, we're the best community radio station in the nation. I have a radio show. I don't talk about music, though. You don't know what I talk about? It's none of your business, Xander. No, I'm kidding. Hi, Dad. Are you Dad? Dad's over there supporting now. Wait till you up there accepting your Grammy Award. Dad's going to be right there proud as heck with that big old cheese on his face. No, but actually we have a program for young people. It's a free program where you can come in and you can learn how to mix music. You can learn about the camera. You can learn how to work the engineering board. There's all aspects of music that we teach you, and you can sign up for one of our programs at RainierAvenueRadio.World. Not to mention the fact that you can come on any one of our shows. We have all types of DJs that have radio shows. That gentleman right there, the Northwest Rap Game, KC Diva is a radio show. This gentleman that just walked past in the orange shirt, that's D Money Juice, and he has a show where he features musicians all the time. That gentleman right there also has a show. He features musicians. So these gentlemen would love to have you come on their show. You and Dad come on and talk about your music, I am sure. So you stop by the right place. So before you go, stop at the table, find out how you can sign up if you want to learn about any of our programs or even come on our shows. Is that something that would interest you, young sir?
Yeah, sounds cool. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, before I let you go, there's just one thing I need for you to do. You're such a serious fella. Can I get a big smile out of this handsome face?
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. Get over here. Thanks for interviewing with us, sweetie. All right, you're very welcome. Hey, who's out there that's young and thinks that you have to be my age or somewhere in your 20s or have graduated college or whatever age you think it is for you to start in the music industry? You don't have to be any age. There are no rules. If you love music, if you love radio, if you love engineering, if you love anything about music or radio at all, you can get started right in your home. Look at this young man, 12 years old, and he's out here to network and do his thing. I see some fabulous folks standing around here. Who's coming up to the mic next? Hey. All right. Well, hello there, handsome. I was hoping it was you. Hey, now. What's going on down here at KEXP? This is RainierAvenueRadio.World, and we have this fine gentleman in front of us. Tell us who you are, sir.
My name is Rank Ramon. I'm from Pioneer Square.
Okay, from Pioneer Square. And what brings you here today?
I'm a local artist. I'm a hip-hop artist. I think KEXP, these workshops, they just give great information. Like, you just got to learn. You got to be open, and I think they give really key things that you won't find anywhere else.
I agree with you, sir. I think I know you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see if I think I know you are. Are you usually somewhere freestyling down in Seattle Center at events and things?
I have, yeah. But I'm everywhere. Like any event, any networking, anything, I'm there. So yeah, I was probably freestyling.
But you like outside, you like a freestyle master, and like people are walking by. Is that you? People are walking by and you're just freestyling, saying things about them. It's not you?
No, that's not me. That's not me.
All right, I thought that was you because there was a guy doing this out there, and he had dreads like you. He had your skin tone, and he was absolutely amazing. No, it was not that guy. No, he's a long dread. But anyway, so you are here. You want to network. You were these workshops. What is your goals? What is your aspiration? You are a rapper, I assume?
Yeah. I think for me, it's about the city. You know, I was born and raised in Seattle, so I'm really trying to do a CEO thing, the business thing, and I'm trying to bring hip-hop and bring Pioneer Square back to life, to be honest. I'm trying to invest, and I'm trying to kind of bring up Seattle in a little bit business mindset.
Really? Now, have you heard of the Marshall Law Band?
Marshall's my homie. Shout out Marshall. I got the nickname the Drip God from Marshall, so yeah, that's the big homie.
So understood, and that's one of his goals, trying to bring Seattle and bring the music community together. Yeah. It's like, what is the point in competing? If we're all from the city, we all have the same goal, we all love music, why not support each other? What do you believe, what do you think about that philosophy?
I think he's a huge person doing that, like actually doing it with the action. You know, he's taking all artists. He's not just taking the favorite artists. He's taking little artists. He's taking big artists, and he's making things happen, doing things like Splash Fest. And I know they got a festival coming up next month. I can't remember. Emerald something?
It's a gala. We'll talk about off the air. Yes, and you are all invited. Big music event, and the whole purpose of the gala is for us to go out in Occidental Park and serve and celebrate and give to the homeless on Christmas Day. I'm hoping that you are going to be there. So you have a goal to put Pioneer Square. Now explain to me what that means, putting Pioneer Square on the map, bringing Pioneer Square up.
I think for Seattle, I think Pioneer Square has kind of gone down. I think with the homelessness and the drug problems and, you know, the mental illness, I think it's really affecting it. But I think we can bring it back alive. You know, that's old Seattle, and there's a lot of culture, there's a lot of history going on. So I'm going to put it back on the map. And I think another cool thing is that we're all connected out here. You got CD, the Central District, you got Capitol Hill, anywhere in Seattle. But I think a lot of people don't think about Pioneer Square like that. It's a small district, but still means a lot to me because that's where I'm from.
Okay, I think absolutely beautiful, magnificent. I love the vision. I love the purpose. And I have nothing but great expectation that you're going to get it done. But while you're here with some of these people listening, and we're live on the air, RainierAvenueRadio.World. Those of you out there listening, if you're wondering where you're listening from, we're live on Facebook at RainierAvenueRadio.World. Tell us right now, what are some things that you would need to happen to get Pioneer Square going in the right direction and putting it back on the map?
Action.
And what kind of action? Talk to the people out there now.
Real money. Like, I mean, we have all these, like, support systems and all this stuff happening, but we don't have people taking action. For example, you see people like Russell Wilson going down into Pioneer Square, and he's giving out all this stuff. Like, he's taking action. He's going out there and making things happen right there. I think there's a lot of things that I'm not going to, you know, put out there, but I think we really need to see where the money's going. You know, I hear about all this money that's going towards homelessness, that's going towards fixing everything up, but I really want to see it. I want to see things happening, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. I really want to do it.
Understood. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that we have not only a rapper here, but we have a young politician on our hands because he is serious about it, and I am grateful for it. I'm not mad at you. All right, I know he was about to start going off on somebody. I was like, let me get the mic for him before he started going off on a politician. No, I love your vision. I think it is beautiful. Where can we hear your music, or where can people follow you to hear your music?
All right, so you can catch me on Facebook at Rank Ramon, WRANQRMONE, and you can catch me on Instagram at Rankavelli, WRANQAVELLI. You can catch my music on SoundCloud, Apple Music, Tidal, Spotify, anywhere you can find. Look me up on Google, Rank Ramon, WRANQ. Shout out Pioneer Square. We're going to bring it back to the map. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you better be glad you didn't catch me about 20 years ago. Hello! No, I'm just kidding. Okay, thank you, sweetie.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome. Bye. Well, hey. Oh, hi. How are you, Shania? Get over here. Okay, then get back out. Get out of here. You're listening to RainierAvenueRadio.World. I am Von Reese, your fairy Von Mother. And we're out here at KEXP having a grand old time. And look at that smile. I mean, there's nothing but love out here. This cat walked past me a little earlier. I was sitting behind the camera talking to Jimmy James, and he came up so smooth like he was floating on ice. He was like, hello, how you doing? I was like, well, how you doing? I'm like, where did you come from? Like, you appeared out of the mist. Why were you so smooth walking up here, sir?
Hey, you know, you got to be smooth, you know. You can't come in ruffling feathers, you know. You don't get anywhere like that, you know.
Well, understood. Well, I understand that we are Rainier Avenue Radio family. Yes. Are we not?
Yes, we are. We are.
And so I have my show. I'm one of the new kids on the block. And so explain and share with our Rainier Avenue Radio.World family and those of us out here at KEXP right now. Share with them who you are, Mr. Smoothness, and what you do on the radio.
I am Granville Emerson, and I host Lidline Sports on RainierAvenueRadio.World, Monday nights live 7 to 8 p.m.
He's a sportsman, and so tell us right now, what is going on your show right now that you're excited about?
We talk about the latest sports headlines, and we put a spotlight on Seattle sports like the Seahawks and Huskies football and basketball.
So did you see the basketball game last night?
Yes, I did.
Did you see that comeback?
It was a great comeback. Good win for the Huskies. Yeah. Very good win. I'm really excited about this year's team. Yeah. I'm excited about all of the young talent on the team. I'm excited to see Carter come into his own. He was their leading scorer last night with 23 points. Yeah. And so
Naziah Carter? Yeah, shout out Clutch Card on Instagram. Great show, yes.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see him play. Excited to see the youngins play as well.
Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah.
And how about our local gentleman from right up from Federal Way? He's a hometown boy, Jaden McDaniels.
From a long history of good basketball playing, McDaniels, his brother plays in the CBA right now, graduated from San Diego State. played there and did well. It's good to see. Jaden played well last night, too.
He was the second highest scorer of the night.
Especially in the second half. He's a kid that can make any kind of shot. Like, I feel like with Jaden, it's just a matter of understanding shot selection to improve his efficiency. And once he does that, he has Kevin Durant-type potential.
Okay. And so did you guys hear that? This is what you can hear every Monday night. You said from what, 7 to what?
7 to 8 p.m. along with my partners, Renault Pepe Bean, who does NFL Pep Talk, and little old Otis Stevenson, who gives you insight on the NBA.
Listen, tune in. You're listening to RainierAvenueRadio.World. If you want to hear about your local sports and you want to hear about the Seahawks or the Huskies or who else?
Whatever is happening in sports. We talk about all the national headlines. We talk about what's happening in the NFL, the NBA. We'll talk about Serena. We'll talk about Simone Biles. We'll talk about Tiger. We'll talk about who's ever making things happen over that weekend or that week in the world of sports.
And so basically what you're telling us is if we're not tuning in, we're missing out.
You really are. And I feel like especially if you are busy and you don't have a chance to catch all the games over the weekend or all the sports over the weekend, or if you want to learn more about sports, you may be a male or a female that want to learn more about it. I have some women followers who thank us for educating them on the sports that they're watching, and it's helpful to them. And so if you want to find out and stay up on what's going on in the world of sports, Lidline Sports, and we give it to you from a black cultural perspective.
Understood. And only on RainierAvenueRadio.World, the best community radio station in the nation. Thank you, Granville. Maybe the world. Give love.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
All right, right back at you. Okay, well, I'm telling you, the good times are just rolling and the people just keep coming in. Come on over here. I'm fantastic, love. How are you? Can you all see us in the camera? Move on over here. And actually, I'm going to put you on the other side of me. You know why? Because this is my good side. Let me keep that going. Okay. I don't want to mess up the shot. Sir, we are just meeting. My name is Vaughn. And nice to meet you. Right back at you, I am known as Ferry Vaughn Mother in these parts. And your name, sir?
Gabriel Teodros from the South End. I see y'all all the time.
You see us all the time. Did you see me dancing in the streets a couple of weeks ago?
No, I missed that.
You missed that, yes. Out on RainierAvenueRadio.World, I was dancing in the streets. What part was that? It was us dancing, yes. My brother was over there. Well, listen, so we got an email because I do a show on RainierAvenueRadio.World, and it said, this is who's going to be featured, this is going to be featured, and it was on Instagram, and I clicked on your name, Gabriel, to see who you are, and I said, wow. I liked a couple of your pictures. There was one in particular where you were, I think you were in Norway, and you were reflecting on, you went to London. Oh, got kicked out. And yes, and you got deported. You were detained there for a while, and you got kicked out of it, and they sent you to New York. And you had to stay with some friends, and then that journey led to something magnificent. And I was so moved by that story. And I didn't expect to meet you here today, so I'm sincerely grateful that I'm having a chance to meet you because I thought that was beautiful, and the way you worded that was so eloquent. So what I want to know is from that time in New York, what happened to your career from that time, from that moment? And by the way, for those who don't know who you are, please explain to everyone who you are.
Yeah. Can I hold the mic? Okay. Yeah, so I'm Gabriel Teodros. I'm from the South End. I'm a hip-hop artist. I've done music in and around Seattle for over 20 years now. Yeah, since I was a teenager. So that experience you're talking about was it was the first time I got flown to Europe, and it was in 2009. So I was in Norway when I wrote that post, and it was like the 10-year anniversary of getting kicked out of Europe and having a whole European tour canceled. What I feel like has happened is, wow, so much. Honestly, like hip-hop music has brought me to places I never would have imagined it was going to take me. Like, it took me back to my homeland of Ethiopia, like a couple years later. It's taken me to Cuba. It's taken me to Mexico. And I've got to connect with real people in all these different places just doing music independently. And when I think about that time period, it was really like a moment of, like, stepping out of Seattle, stepping out of the South End in my own mind and realizing, like, that the music and this work that we do is really global. Yes. You know what I mean? Yes. And I really want everyone to know that about your work. Like you can do work locally if it comes from an authentic place and connects with real people. You can impact the entire planet from right here. But once you do that and once you put your work out, step into the world. You know, you don't have to stay in Seattle. You know, and yeah, that's a little bit about what happens.
Now, when did you know that you were global? Because see, I'm a certified life coach, but I tell people I am a Fairy Vaughn mother because what I do is magical. I go beyond life coach. But one thing I do know about all of us as individuals is that we are born masterpieces. We are infinite and we have no limitations at all. But then life happens, right? And people tell us things, and we have society rules, and whoever raised us in circumstance that make us believe otherwise. So we have to literally peel back the layers and dig deep on the inside to discover our true self, to understand that we are infinite and that impossible is like our last name. You are living into that space, and from being from the South and discover that. When did you come to the place, or what happened to make you understand that you're global and that your music was global? Because the only reason that happened is because you believed it first and you brought it to yourself. So what happened to create that transformation in you so that people can understand how it can happen in their lives?
It was definitely a couple of factors. I think early on, you know, on stage earlier today, I talked about the rap apartheid. And what I didn't say on stage is that when Clear Channel kind of took over, right, major label and radio artists, like you start hearing the same 10 artists over and over again. What I didn't say is that's when I started listening to independent hip hop very closely. And I realized like you can make an impact globally even, and you don't need anyone to be a gatekeeper, right? So that was the first thing. But then when I had an album that came out and it affected the planet and I felt like I wasn't in control of my own career, that happened around 2007 with this album I put out called Love Work. The album went everywhere, but I felt like I was struggling to control my career the whole time. It wasn't until an amazing and incredible, legendary hip-hop artist from Mexico City brought me to Mexico City. His name's Boca Floja. Hey, shout out to Boca Floja and the people of Mexico, because they really gave me my love back. I went there, and I'm in a country where, you know, I got picked up at the airport and they told me that the average income is $10 a day, you know, and I went to a sold out show where people lined up around the block at 2 p.m. to get to a show where the doors were at 5 p.m. And in this setting, in this place, people were coming up to me and telling me my music helped them wake up in the morning. And in my head, they're going through conditions that are harder than anything I've ever lived through, you know? And then people start telling me that, like, yeah, your music actually gets bootlegged out here all the time. And for me, that was the moment where I felt like I made it. Like when I'm getting bootlegged in another country, like, yo, I made it. So for me, that was the moment where I really realized that, yes, the music has, you know, I went through some trials and tribulations struggling with the industry, but the music actually got to its people, even if I wasn't able to see it with my own two eyes. And that was my first taste of it. Yeah. And in that moment where, you know, I realized, like, yo, like, y'all are making $10 a day and my music helps you get up in the morning, like, that was the moment where I felt like the music isn't mine alone anymore. And I owe it to them to keep going. And that's when I really started pushing. And, like, actually the majority of my career actually happened after that. Like, in retrospect, it's crazy because Love Work is still the album most people know, but I've put out over 10 albums since then. You know, and it's because of that experience. So that's the moment if I had to pick one.
Wow. Excellent. Beautiful. Amazing. Listen, I am so grateful that you stopped by here to speak with us at RainierAvenueRadio.World. And I personally would like to put you on the spot because I want to invite you to come on my show. I have a show called Vibing with Von Reese, and even though you are a musician and this whole event is about music or is about radio or what radio is about, the behind the scenes and the front of the scenes, you have to wrap it up? Oh. Understood. Okay. There's something going on behind the scenes. I'll figure it out in a minute. But no, but really it's the person, it's the man who makes the music that I'm interested in, because that is where the treasure is. And that is where the value is. And that's often what people don't get to see or hear because they're inundated with you as a musician. So it's only a half-hour show, but I would love for you to come on my show and just talk to us about your life. Because standing here listening to you, the energy that is coming off you lets me know that I've never heard your music, and I imagine it's great, but I already know that the man is great.
Right now. Thanks, man. Thanks for what y'all did today up there. It's something, again, that the city needs, and we continue to do these types of things, and we all grow. And so what you've been seeing is, so a couple people, we've been broadcasting here all day from the KEXP event, and this is about radio. And so, Gabriel, you're gonna double duty here, because you're in front of the camera, and this is how it works, community radio. Then I want you to take a pan shot of everybody, all right? So we're going to really quickly do this, and then we're going to get into some discussions with some of the people who are here. Okay, and James has it. And so we're talking about radio. We want everyone here to know that the cool thing about community radio is today we possess the technology for communities to stay in touch with each other and for people who want to share information to be able to share that information, to share their narrative, and anything that you want to do is up to you. So with Rainier Avenue Radio, what we try and do is celebrate our community and the diversity within our community. Now, it's not something that we use as a tagline or a $10 word. It's just something that happens automatically because of the community that we live in. So what you see is not something that's been an organized attempt at some form of diversity. It's simply a reflection of our neighborhood. Your community radio station can be a reflection of your neighborhood. At the end of the day, you get to make the choice, you get to make the decision. So a lot of things are going to be going on here. We got some panelists to talk to, more folks like Gabriel. We also want to talk to some of the folks from KEXP. We're going to give you a lot of time to find out about Rainier Avenue Radio as you go to our website. You go to our Facebook page and find out what we do. I'm just going to quickly, and James, if you'll pan, and we got a bunch of folks here, so I don't want to do the introduction, but quickly just say who you are, and we're going to talk to you a little bit later as we move on. But right now, we want to welcome everybody to Rainier Avenue Radio in our live broadcast. And this is our community and some of the folks who are on our radio station.
I'm Dirty Harry. I host the Traffic Jam weekday afternoons 4 to 6 with my co-host Fiza and my entire on-air team. Please check out the show. Reach out to me if I can ever help or assist with any community relations. Thank you.
Dennis Weaver, host of the Change Your Food, Change Your Life show and Good Food Guide on RainierAvenueRadio.World.
Granville Emerson with Lidline Sports with my co-hosts Renal Pepe Bean and little old Otis Stevenson on the NBA. Monday nights live, 7 to 8 p.m.
I'm Tony B. I host a show called Street Beat where I do interviews with community members and entertainment guests. And Eddie.
Hi, my name is Eddie Smith. I'm the co-host of KC Divas Northwest Connection. We talk about entertainment news, our favorite shows. We also talk to artists, musicians, activists, movers and shakers in the community, and we interview them. And yeah, this is my first time in radio, and I'm really grateful to Tony B and for KC Diva to bring me on as a member of the family. So glad to be here.
What's happening? Daniel Bellis, a.k.a. D-Money, Assistant Program Director at Rainier Avenue Radio, and host the show Fresh Juice Wednesday nights, 9 to 11 p.m. with my co-host Pint Size Patron and Taylor Hart about hip-hop, R&B, and we talk to artists from the community as well.
So my name is Taylor Kareen Benton, my first name being Taylor Kareen. Please see that 10 times before you go on to my nickname. And, well, it's my name. And I'm the student coordinator, so I talk to high schools, and I basically get students who are interested in broadcasting, videography, journalism, and photography, and I kind of coach them on how to do that.
Hey, Karen Zammit, otherwise known as KZ, show host for Mojam Mondays, the only live improv music show, airs every Monday night at 10 p.m., and communications for the station, for Rainier Avenue Radio.
What's up? This is Chad Cheddar. I'm one of the executive producers of Rainier Avenue Radio. I got a couple shows, the Northwest Rap Game. playing back-to-back local Northwest rap, you know, with DJ Medina. Shout out to DJ Medina. You feel me? And I got another show, Lyrically We Stand. And that's what we doing. We bring in poets, spoken word, you know, just words, period. You feel me? So reach out. You already know. Next show is on the 21st, November 21st, 7 to 9 p.m. at the Art Gallery. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Bryan. I'm the host of the Fitness Corner. Yes. Get ready to sweat it out. So if you don't know where, if you don't know how, get ready to be live every Friday from 11:30 to 12 right here. Guaranteed to get you fit. Better get your towels and water balls. I'm waiting for you.
Paul Schneiderman, host of Sports and Stuff on RainierAvenueRadio.World. My show runs at noon every Tuesdays and other miscellaneous times during the week, trying to hit on a potpourri of sports subjects, the sociological, business side of sports, cultural side of sports. Last two guests have been Mariner TV broadcaster Dave Sims and Major League Baseball legend Jim Abbott. So we're getting all sorts of different guests. Just had a children's sports author on, and it's been a great ride, and hope to keep doing it for the years to come.
I'm James Gertie. I host the show After Dark, your late-night hip-hop show on RainierAvenueRadio.World. I'm also the lead engineer, so that's why I'm mostly off camera. But, yeah.
We also have internship programs, as you know before, so being in front of the camera and hosting a show is one thing, but I want to make sure that we also give some airtime to some folks who are behind the scenes. So here we go.
I'm Asher, executive intern, Rainier Avenue Radio. I do many things.
I don't know if executive intern was established. What about me? What about me? All right, I'm Gabriel. I'm also an intern. It's my first week here, and it's great. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Having said that, we invite everyone here to come share with us. If you'd like to be on the radio, if you'd like to find out more about radio, if you'd like to find out how radio works, we have a number of applications over here to fit just about every need. One of us will probably be talking to someone in here in the room about something. We're going to continue to share more information about what's going on here. And while we're doing that, you guys, you want to have a seat over here? Okay. Why don't we do this? Let's see. Where are the Mercer Island students? No, you know what? Okay. Okay. Yeah, we'll have a couple microphones over there. And are you one of the Mercer Island students? I'm sorry? You're from the Tacoma station. University of Puget Sound? Okay, why don't you come over here too? Why don't you come over here too? So you've got the University of Puget Sound here and a couple of different guests. And so this is the way that community radio is going to work. And, all right, and Daniel, why don't you sit right there? And do we have let's see. Let's grab a wireless for Daniel. I mean a headphone mic for Daniel and a headphone. Let's if we can get another headphone mic here, or do we have enough mics? Is it 1, 2, 3? And that other headphone. Hey, Daniel, you want to grab that other headphone mic right there? Get it over here. Okay, let's let's see. Yeah, let's see what we got going here. Go ahead and stick those on. And there we go.
We got a free mic.
All right.
There. All right. I'm being a little strange.
So, well, for all of you, welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio.
Thank you.
And let's see. Are we, James, are all the mics hot? I don't think, can we test your mic? Can we test your mic? See?
Testing.
And we're good?
Testing.
All
I'm
right.
on live.
Testing.
All right. Here we go. So, again, you probably heard a little bit about what we do. Now is the opportunity to find out about who's here and why you're here. So why don't we start here? Just quickly tell us why you're here and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Olivia. I'm the alternative music director at KUPS, The Sound, which is University of Puget Sound's student-run radio station.
Awesome. Fantastic. And
Yeah, my name is Alex. I'm just a member of the Seattle community. I came down because my girlfriend is a volunteer here at KEXP. So we're kind of just interested in radio and the community and kind of just the industry in general.
All right. And
Yeah, so I'm the DJ assistant here
hey,
at
James,
KEXP.
can we get a little? Let's see.
Okay, so my name is Danae, and I'm a DJ assistant here at KEXP, and I just was interested in what you do here at this radio station because I know Paul, and I just wanted to come and talk to you and see.
All right.
Yes, she learned about Paul for the first time having a show called Sports and Stuff. She was like, "You have a show?"
Yeah, I was really surprised. And he didn't know I was in radio.
Also, I think would be like nice to get like a new perspective on radio because she's so heavily involved in KEXP, and something maybe a little bit more community oriented or small time might be more in favor to someone's career like her.
So what do you think, and this is open for the three of you, what do you think about the event so far, what you've gotten out of it, what you'd like to share with folks? If what you're looking for is here and how the experience has been so for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's been awesome. Just being students working at a radio station, it can feel sometimes like there is nowhere to move up from that, since radio isn't really expanding like it used to. It's just great to see that there are people making a career out of it and working here on a larger scale than just college radio. So I think we just wanted to learn a little bit more about what was out there and how we can get more publicity for our own radio station.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, we caught the tail end of the panel discussion, and it seemed like a little bit more like artist geared towards radio, but we're kind of maybe curious about just the radio community in general.
Yeah, definitely. It's it always takes a step to get out there. If you're interested, you just go to these events and you learn, or you go to a radio station's website and you see like contact information. Who do I need to contact? Who do I need to email? Who do I need to call? It's just all about putting yourself out there.
Yeah, so thanks for being here and kind of supporting that for us.
Yeah, totally.
It's nice.
All right, thoughts on the panel?
Yeah, like he said, we kind of just caught the tail end of it, so we didn't really know much coming into it. We originally had thought that it was about like how to get involved with radio, not necessarily just as an artist, just as a member of society.
Yeah, totally.
So, as a
Who
DJ,
is are you the station manager?
I am the station manager.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm the station manager. But there's a lot of us here. As you can see, there's we did a big introduction before.
You're the founder, okay. So how do you feel being like a person of color, like operating a radio station that possibly has such a large access to like so many people in a city that is kind of notoriously white, like Seattle?
Well, I'll tell you, I did 20 years in major market radio. I was always the only person of color, let alone black, who was involved in management and making certain decisions. Everybody was interested in being in front of the microphone.
Yeah.
And when I got out of that, the reason why I got back into community radio, just to be blunt, is that there wasn't the representation from the position of ability to share information from people of color. And so to create a network where people could be able to share their narrative unfiltered, thoughts, ideas, whatever that happened to be, that was open to everyone. was something that was important to me. It was the reason why I did it. And you know, I think that's one thing that everybody should know about any of these radio stations, is that if you don't feel like you see yourself in them and you don't feel like you're part of it, we can and you can share your narrative yourself in the way that you want to.
Yes.
Now, you can also hold people accountable as well, you know, because you said something that was absolutely correct, and I'm not going to shy away from it. And a lot of community radio stations are the same usual suspects.
Yep.
And so by doing what we're doing right here and bringing people like you on the air and bringing young people on the air and introducing our audience to people, it provides the opportunity for people to realize that you can take control of your narrative. And in the times that we live in now, where do you get information? Who trusts the information? Who's your trusted advocate? Where does this? It becomes even more critical and important, just again, in your ability to sustain community connections. But there's also the other side of it, which is also art and creativity, and being able to help folks who share their enthusiastically share their talent with others, a platform to be able to do that, where you know, you can feel like, hey, it's comfortable. And so that's kind of the answer to that question. It might have been a little bit more than you.
No, I appreciate the long-winded answer. I like that.
Yeah, that's and I forgot that that's also something we're supposed to do here. So
very important, always, Tony.
So that's what the deal is. And if there's anything that I want to share with anyone, it's that your voice is important, your narrative is important. You know, people may agree with you and people may disagree with you. But the ability to have your words, your thoughts, the things that are going on in your community, something that you can share with someone, should never be oppressed. And we have to continue to find a way to make sure that people's voices have access to being heard.
I agree. I'm glad to hear that. No, that's really cool. And it is inspiring to see, you know, someone like yourself doing what you're doing. So thank you as well.
So you conduct some interviews now.
Yeah.
You conduct some interviews now
I don't know if I'm
with these
qualified
folks.
for this.
Emma?
All right.
Are we like live on the air right
We're
now?
live right now.
You mean like people are hearing us
Yes.
that
People
aren't
yes.
right here
Yes.
next to us right now?
So we're putting you on the
Oh my
spot.
God.
I'm going to tell you what.
Okay, wow, cool.
Eddie and Chad, come on over here.
Bringing Eddie and Chad over.
Eddie and Chad, this is what I want, because you seem like, and you're ready for it too. I want you to interview Eddie and Chad.
Okay.
All right, both of you. You guys step on over there. So this is live community radio, and
I can.
step on over there. Get in there, Chad.
You know, maybe I'll stand. There you go.
All right. Here, you got. No, she'll keep this because she's one of the interviewers. And I'll give you this one. Y'all have a good time. We'll keep this thing moving. Please keep the show moving. Thank you for co-hosting the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank
Glad
you
to
for
be
co-hosting the show.
You got it.
Good luck, guys.
What's up? What's up?
All right.
What's up? What's up?
Okay, Eddie. What is it that you do? Why are you here today?
My name's Eddie Smith, and I am the co-host of KC Divas Northwest Connection every Wednesday, 6 o'clock. Also an illustrator in the video game industry, so I've been working in the video game industry for 20 years. I'm originally from Los Angeles. I moved out to Seattle to work for Microsoft Bungie, and I worked on the Halo franchise. That was one of my first big projects I ever worked on, and worked on many game titles from that point till now. And I also do comic art, and I also am a filmmaker and screenwriter. So that's how I got to know KC. She was a publicist, and I met her at a few film festivals. And yeah, part of the family here now. So, and now I just got introduced to you guys, and yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so you're just like a full-blown artist and entrepreneur and all sorts of stuff. So, and what's your name?
I'm Chad. Chad.
And what's your story, man?
I'm one of the executive engineers here at Rainier Avenue Radio, along with a lot of tasks. But now I'm starting to produce my own shows now. So, yeah, that's pretty much what my background is right now.
Okay, that's cool. I have a question. With the huge, job market and with so many people applying for so many jobs, how do you kind of start out? How would you say is the easiest way to kind of start out your career when you're, say, looking to completely change your path and kind of go down a different route, like, say, radio? Because it seems like it's like one of those things, like, I want to be on TV, but it's like it's kind of like a more of a dream than actually like a career path, or a common career path, I guess you could say.
It is. I was kind of brought up into radio. I kind of just stumbled across this, but like I grew up in radio. The KRIZ out in the central area, they've been around the Seattle medium. That's my family's business, so I kind of grew up in that, And then so I came across Rainier Avenue Radio, and then I really just wanted to be the tech guy. I just wanted to produce, do audio, video. I want to do everything. It is an option, so yeah, that's my answer for that, bro. That's my answer for that.
I have similar to his. I fell into radio because KC, she would have me on her show once in a while. We would just have discussions. I got in on her Hot Topic segment because KC Diva Northwest Connection, we deal with entertainment, fun, your favorite shows, hot topics. We also talk, interview artists, musicians, community organizers, anyone who's inspiring in the community and makes things happen around them and has a good message. And so people who listen to the show, they became, I guess, intrigued by, whenever I'd be on there once in a while, especially talking about my work and what I do, and having fun, just, the debates and the normal, not really debates, but the normal fun conversations we have about our favorite actors, our favorite TV shows, or anything like that. KC asked me if I wanted to be a regular on the show, so as sort of, I wouldn't say a favorite of her because it seems a little like, like I'm just I enjoyed being on there. So I was like, yeah, I'd come on anytime you're willing to have me. So I didn't have a desire to per se be in radio. Like, I'm just here because I enjoy talking to Casey and her guests and everybody in the studio. So I'm sort of just enjoying myself. And as far as getting in anything, especially entertainment-wise, or entrepreneurship, it definitely has to be something you're passionate about, something you enjoy, and something that is tangible that you have to sell or to put forth that resonates with people in a way that is undeniable. That if it's undeniable, it does a lot of the selling for you, and do it in a way that makes people feel like they get something out of it as much as you get when you put into it.
Yeah, just be authentic.
Cool. Well, that sounds good though, because if you guys just fell into it, and if someone were to be actually seeking it out, it sounds quite possible then. So that's
it is
inspiring, yeah, for sure.
It happens naturally. Usually when something happens naturally, it's a lot more palatable than if you're forcing it. And also, it's more genuine. So people are put off by something that seems like agenda filled or like you got an angle. So when you come in just open and honest, and like I said, I came in just enjoying myself, having conversations that I normally have anyway. It just happens to be on the radio or on a or on Facebook. Yeah. So.
What's the demographic like at the radio station? Is it mostly guys?
Nah, man, it's both. We have so much going on at this radio station, like it's hard to keep up what we got going on. Like we have so many different shows. Every single day is a new show. A couple people got showed. Like,
so there's not really one theme to the radio station.
Okay. We have multi-language shows.
Oh, okay.
We have music shows. We have talk shows. We have gossip shows. Like, we kind of touch on everything.
I say the theme is Rainier Avenue itself. You go up and down Rainier Avenue, you don't just see one type of person, one group. You don't see one type of restaurant. You don't see one type of anything. You see everybody allowed to be who they are and allowed to, have a voice.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's nice. Shout out to Rainier Ave.
Yeah, shout out to the whole
for making
Rainier
the
Ave,
radio
man.
station what it is, right? Okay.
Yeah, for
cool.
real. And it's straight community, you know, and that's what we about. You feel me?
That's awesome. Well, I'm gonna bow out. I appreciate you guys answering my questions today.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Appreciate you coming up here,
thank you
bro.
very much.
Yes, sir. Yes,
nice
sir.
meeting you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Nice
Yes,
talking
it
with you
took
guys.
a lot of
Yeah.
courage. The other interviewer bowed out right until the end. She's like, I don't want to get in this.
It's a little intimidating to jump on the mic if you've never done it.
For you, that was a really good interview, so I'm not.
Well,
Hey, good job too, bro. That was really
these
good.
guys helped me out too with some good answers,
Good
so
job, good
I appreciate it. So shout out to Rainier Ave and everyone
Shout
here.
out your information, bro.
Yeah, my name's Alex Villa.
I'm Danae Alexander. I
Danae
haven't
Alexander.
said much, but I'm here.
Oh, okay.
She's a DJ assistant here at KEXP, looking for a DJ gig in the future, hopefully. Yeah.
That's
So
why
yeah,
I'm here.
she's working behind the scenes here at the radio station. So we'll trade some info and stuff and keep in touch, keep the community vibes going.
Yes, contact us. Stay in contact with us.
Cool.
It's good.
We'll shout out to the email on the radio station.
Yes, sir.
And what was your name again?
Chad Cheddar.
Chad and Eddie.
Yeah,
Chad,
for
I'm
sure.
Danae.
Thanks.
Nice.
Again,
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you guys.
All right.
And what was your name?
Good to meet Eddie.
I don't know what we got going on right now. I don't know what I walked into right now, but I'll take over the show. You know, I try to stay in charge, you know. So how's everybody's day going out there? We're here at KEXP. We are here networking. You feel me? Having coffee. This is RainierAvenueRadio.World. And we're live. We're live right now on the radio. We're live right now on Facebook. And we got all the lives in here, man. We live in here.
All right, thank you, Chad,
Yeah,
man.
we're going to pass it over.
Yes, all right. So we are going to go over to Tony B, who is talking to Stephen Graham, host of Locals Only at 107 to 7 to N, who participated as a panelist earlier right here at KEXP for the panel. Tony B. Are we ready, Tony?
Okay.
I see I'm still on the camera. What's up?
I hear you.
Okay. you hear
Yeah,
me?
the Northwest Rap Gang.
All right, let's.
Lyrically, we stand. Tony B, take it.
So, again, this is live radio. Joining me again, Steve Graham from 107.7.
Yep.
And one of the purposes of this particular event is to give people an opportunity to hear more and learn more and find out more about navigating the world of radio. James, would you stick these on for a second, just make sure we've got good levels here. All of this is live. Now, part of the fun of doing radio, from my experience, is doing live radio.
Yeah.
You know, today a lot of the things that you see on the air are automated, and which is okay. You know, technology's fine. But in the spirit of learning some of the fun things to do, the unique things to do, I found that there's nothing like doing live radio.
Well, and the accidents and mistakes that happen on
Yeah.
live radio are a lot more exciting than being in a booth by yourself going, that wasn't perfect.
So
I'm going to do it again.
Tell us about what you do at 107.7 The End.
So I host a show. It's a specialty show called Locals Only, where I just play all local music from the greater Seattle, well, not just the greater Seattle area, but the Pacific Northwest. And it's, I mean, it's probably the most romantic version of radio that I can imagine, where I just get to pick a bunch of stuff from around me that I love and then say, hey, everybody listening, you should like this too. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah. And is this something that the End, I mean, why is it important to the End as a station?
Well, I think the idea of local radio show is, I mean, you get the opportunity to give back to your community. You get the opportunity to give a platform to artists right in your community, and you get to give the opportunity to your listeners who, you know, the End plays huge artists from all over the world, right?
Yeah.
To be able to say, hey, everybody who listens to this because you love Coldplay or you love Lana Del Rey or whatever it is that you like that you hear on the station normally, check out what's in your backyard. Check out who's going to be at Barboza on Friday. And being able to have that platform to showcase that is just, like, so rewarding. I mean, I'm sure you understand.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some things here. 107.7 is major market radio. Yeah. You know, and let's talk about what that is, and explain that to people when you're doing what's considered to be major market radio. Some of the stations here are called low-power FM radio stations. We've got high school stations. We've got stations like Rainier Avenue Radio, where we consider ourselves a broadcast media network. We broadcast over the internet. We create content for other stations. And there is this thing called major market radio,
right?
Which I was a part of for 20 years.
Okay.
And so, but what does that mean? Explain to folks, you know, just to understand what you do, what you're involved in.
To be completely honest with you, for 4.5 years I've hosted locals only.
Wow.
Other than that, I have no radio experience.
Yeah.
So I don't, other than knowing that the end has a reach geographically, the power, you know, the wattage to get out there farther and farther miles, I really don't know a whole lot about the ins and outs of corporate commercial radio.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, I guess I enjoy my innocence.
Well, I guess the cool thing about that is you are experiencing the ability to do what you want to do without a lot of corporate oversight.
Right, and I do really, maybe once a year my program director gets in touch with me and says, hey, I know I don't ever really tell you what to do, but could you try and play this artist? And it's like, yeah, of course, it's a great local artist. And most of the time when I get those emails, I'm already playing that person. But it's, I don't know, I get to do a very romantic version of radio, I think, in just playing stuff that I really care about and trying to make sure that more people get the opportunity to care about them.
Well, as you know, then that's a rare opportunity to have here. How do folks get their music to you? How do they
send an email? Send an email to localsonly@1077theend.com. I listen to everything that comes in. Not everything makes it on the air, but I will listen to everything.
And that happens to be a reality.
Yeah.
And so, again, we're just having a straight discussion here. Hey, Daniel or James or Gabriel, can we get a few more people over here so we can get some stuff going? Not everything makes it on the radio.
No.
Now, there's ways that you can react to that.
Right.
Okay, which is why I'm bringing this up.
Over here.
What are some of the things that you would recommend that you deal with when you come in and people say, and then you get the disappointment of the records not being played, but it's just part of the gig. Let's talk about that a little bit further.
So one, I'm very firmly of the mind that once you put something out there and you ask somebody to decide what to do with it, it's on, right? Like at that point,
it is what
hurt,
it is.
Hurt feelings are kind of, but I never really tell anybody like, hey.
I mean, grab some more folks.
Yes.
I never really tell people, hey, like, I don't like this. Like, I never say anything like that. I always just go, hey, I'm going to listen to it. If I think it's a good fit for the show, I'll play it. And then you have people follow up a couple weeks later and go, hey, I listened to the show. I didn't hear my music. And it's like, yeah, I know. I appreciate you sending it in. For one reason or another, it just wasn't in there right now, or it's not the best fit for the show. Please keep sending me your music. I will listen to it. Maybe we'll find something that's perfect. I don't know. And sometimes you have people who are irate about that.
I like that.
That's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And then the other, that's a way to guarantee you never get played.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, people will go, hey, honest feedback. You know, what do you think?
So getting mad at you, and getting mad at the radio station, and being upset about it, does not help your record get on the air.
Not if you're publicly upset about it.
Yeah.
You know, every now and then you'll see somebody will light you up on Twitter because you didn't play their music.
We're trying to get set up so as soon as they're done, they go
that's
to us.
that's probably not the answer. And Gabriel, when we were doing the panel earlier, said something really important about relationships, build genuine relationships. And I knew Marco years ago, and Marco told me the most important thing I probably ever could have heard is treat everybody like you're going to work for them one day. And it's just, if you can calibrate your brain like that and go into these things, well, yeah, your feelings might be hurt that your stuff didn't get played. Just try again. Do it again. Send it again. Or find the next person who it might be, like, perfect.
So I don't think we discussed this. How did you get the role that you have right now?
A lot of luck and being sort of getting myself into a position to receive that luck. I wrote about music for about 6 years for the Everett Herald newspaper, just as online blogging, unpaid, just because I wanted to try and find a way to get into the scene. Then I started a nonprofit with a friend where we were putting on shows once a month in our community. Then we opened our own music venue. Then we started a music festival. and I just kind of kept meeting people and getting to know all the local artists. Yeah. And then at one point, a DJ who I had met, who was actually a DJ from Reno, ended up working at the End and knew me basically on Twitter as somebody who put on shows and knows the local music community, and invited me in just to be a guest on Locals Only one night and play stuff that I liked.
Okay.
And then after doing that twice, she said, "You want to do this every week with me?" And I went, "Yeah, so much." And then she left the station, and they said, "Yeah, we'll keep the guy who doesn't know what he's doing."
Yeah.
And it's just really worked out.
All right. Well,
4.5 years later.
That is awesome, and I'm sure in that time you've had the opportunity to play a ton of music.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that I really love, and I'm sure somebody who went to school for communications and wants to be in radio is probably pulling their hair out mad at me right now that I backdoored my way into a major station. But just work hard, you'll get lucky.
That's part of why we're here today.
Yeah.
Because with the advent of low-power FM radio stations,
go volunteer, go get to know Tony.
Stations, get that experience that you need. You know, my story is I didn't go to school. Mm-hmm. A series of things led to me being involved in radio.
Right.
Then I was doing a show on Cube 93 for
I probably heard you.
1 hour in the morning. It's called Street Beat with Tony B.
Okay.
And that led to ultimately a 20-year career in radio.
Wow.
And starting a community radio station.
Well, and I grew up, obsessed. I grew up in Salton before I ended up in Everett. Salton way out kind of in the boonies on Highway 2 towards Stevens Pass. And I would listen to Cube and 107.7 The End. I would listen to 107.7 The End. I'd hear Marco. I'd hear like Love Line at night when I was not supposed to be listening to Love Line because I was too small. And I would listen to Cube, and I'd hear when people would call in and freestyle on the air. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world as just some kid who, like, I wasn't even from the burbs. Like, I was just in this, like, tiny little town. And the idea that one day I could end up on radio, no. Like, that's not right. That shouldn't happen. That math doesn't add up. But, you get to know people, you build relationships, you act, you conduct yourself in the right way where people know, like, oh, no, like, that person's solid. We can trust that person to come in and do something good. Like, something will happen. Yeah. And part of putting yourself in a position to have that happen is, like, come and meet you. Yeah. Come and, volunteer at KEXP or one of these other community stations that has those opportunities.
Well, my man, thank you. And you have an open invitation to Rainier Avenue Radio.
Thank you.
Come down, hang out, maybe introduce some music to us.
Hey,
on
my
the
pleasure.
Air,
and, and when you grabbed me and invited me over here to do this, I had no idea what to expect, and I had a lovely time. You're a great guy.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me over, and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you. And like I said, maybe we'll get you over for a special show, and then we'll have a special show with you for half an hour on Rainier Avenue Radio, where you bring some of your favorite music and share it with our audience.
I have plenty of opinions about music.
All right.
That
would be fantastic.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks for coming by. Okay, my man. Again, live radio here on Rainier Avenue. Hey, Mr. Bellis. Mr. Bellis. Daniel, why don't you
Did you say Vaughn or Yvonne?
Pick up a microphone over here, Daniel? Or who do we have here? And actually, James. Hey, Chad.
So
why don't you switch with James? So switch with James.
What do you do?
Daniel, why don't you switch? Chad, you do this so James can be here.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
No, hey, Daniel, let James sit here. Let James sit here. I'm just going to let James.
Thank you.
Hey, James.
Cool.
Grab a microphone. And, or if you want this one, whichever. And so right now, why don't we go, James, to this table? Why don't you lead the conversation over here? And we'll find out what's going on at this table over here.
All right, sounds good, Tony. And here, just real quick to make sure that we can go ahead and do that. And we're going to be switching over here now, switching gears. I guess I'm sitting in on this one with you guys.
You're going to sit in on this one with us.
It's going to be fun.
Do we have a mic for the lovely Shannara?
I'm thinking for right now, Vaughn, if you could pass it over for a second.
Fantastic.
We'll kind of move it around. I want to make sure we can be loud for the audience that's still out there here. But yeah, we're here with.
Oh, James. I'm sorry.
Okay. Tony, My only thing, Tony, is with those we can't have the speakers up very high or we get feedback. So if we can keep it to these microphones so that everybody can hear, that might be the best move.
By the way, James is our lead engineer. So if he's saying what he's saying, then here we'll move here. I still want you to be in. Grab this seat right here, James, because I still want you to be here. Asher went through great lengths to make sure that he wanted me to talk to you.
Oh, cool. Hi.
Okay, so that's what I understand. But it's still going to be a group conversation.
Cool. Are we live on
We are
air?
live.
Okay, like
Yes.
streaming? Okay,
we're,
cool.
We're
I have
live.
to ask so that I don't say anything bad.
Let's run by. We know we've got Von Reese over here, and who's joining us here?
Hello, my name is Shannara Capane, and I'm a local artist here in Seattle, Washington.
Okay, and
I'm Michelle Feghali. I'm the radio promotions manager at Sub Pop Records here in Seattle.
all right, it's me, Tony B, here on RainierAvenueRadio.World, and
I'm James Gertie, the lead engineer here and host of After Dark on Rainier Avenue Radio.
and your other persona.
All of them, or like James Street. Yeah, I have a nickname.
Well, cool. One of the things that I want to do, since you're here, and we're talking about radio, and you work within the realm of radio, is that correct?
Yeah, I do radio promotions.
Okay. What does that mean to do radio promotions for a record label based in Seattle, Sub Pop?
Yeah, so Sub Pop's pretty big as far as like nationwide recognition. So my job at the label is to work with all of the bands that we have signed to the label, and when they put out new music, I have to get it out to the stations and make sure they play it. That's
Okay.
in like a nutshell, that's what I do.
What does that look like today when you are saying you go to radio stations, for people who are out there going, okay, I hear these things on the air. We know that a number of stations now in a framework that is different are owned by one company, many companies. How does that work for you? Do you work with the big radio stations? Do you work with the small radio stations? When you are working with radio, what does that look like? Give me an interaction that you would have.
Yeah, so I manage the non-com and college radio promotions for the label. And then I have a coworker who manages the commercial side. But to be honest, most of the bands that we have on Sub Pop are either developing or like a few levels above that. I would say the most famous person we have on the label right now is either Father John Misty or Beach House.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty well known, but if I went into like the most basic person's household and said Father John Misty, I think they'd probably think I'm talking about a priest or something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the artist. So yeah, we end up doing a lot in non-commercial and college radio stations. That's kind of the majority of where our promotions go.
Explain the landscape of non-commercial and commercial radio stations. Like you're here in Seattle, but Seattle is this your region, or do you also do work with college and commercial radio stations around the country?
I do everything around the country. We don't have regional. Definitely bigger labels and major labels will have like a regional person on each side of the country doing different promotions there. But because we're a smaller label, we're able to just kind of cover everything. The difference, did you want to know the difference between like non-com and com, you said?
Yeah, just some of the, doing the work that you do with commercial locally, and then doing that with non-commercial radio college radio stations and smaller radio stations, and doing that work on a national level. Is there a difference in the way that you work with the radio stations, and what does that look like?
Not really, actually. So a lot of my job, I mean, we are very close with KEXP. KEXP and Sub Pop have a lot of friends and a lot of love for each other. So I would say they're probably the best non-com relationship that we have. But a big part of my job is I have to make really strong relationships with all of the stations across the country. Non-com especially, because they do have a little bit more of an influence for our bands. But that's not always the case. A lot of college radio stations can do so as well. But I do tend to go to a lot of different stations around the country, especially when my artists are touring through there. Then I can try to get them into the station for a session or an interview, or have the station members come out to the show, meet the band. So I really try and get in there on a personal level and make those connections.
So that's a lot of radio stations we're talking about.
Yeah, there's about 70 non-com stations in the country. There's only about like 15 or 20 that are super influential, though. I mean, super influential in like oh my gosh, in like all of America is what I'm trying to say. There are definitely a lot of non-com stations that are very influential in their communities, but they might not be as well known outside of that. Like KEXP, people know them all around the world. Like,
So you work with the larger non-commercial radio stations?
I work with all of them.
All of them? Is there, even the smaller college stations as well?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay.
I do hire people that help me, so it's not just me. I end up hiring people that are indies, which is what I used to do. I was at a company called The Syndicate in New Jersey where we would contact people like Sub Pop and different bands and managers we wanted to work with and have them hire us for our services to kind of help them out as like a contracted assistance, basically.
So what are your entry points into radio that you either share? Because again, that's a lot of radio stations to manage, a lot of radio stations to see if your artist can get on, a lot of relationships to develop. When you are approaching a radio station, how do you say, this is who I am, this is what we're like to do? How do you develop that relationship, and what would you recommend about developing that relationship that makes it easy for someone at the radio station, for an example, to say, okay, we may not play the record right now, but we can develop a relationship?
It's going to be different for someone like me versus someone who's at an indie versus someone who's just in a band that no one knows.
Let's get your perspective on it.
So my perspective, most people that I hit up that are on the non-com college level, if I say I'm from Sub Pop, they will listen to anything that I send them. Just the clout of being associated with Sub Pop, they trust that I have enough taste to give them something that they think that.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's something to know about radio. Radio develops relationships based off of certain things as well.
Yeah, people take Sub Pop really seriously, I think.
So as opposed to a label that's independent that no one's heard of, for you it is just very common that because you are Sub Pop, your relationships are going to be probably a little bit stronger than other radio stations. So for you, it's a little different.
Yeah, but when I worked at an indie, I mean, nobody knew who I was. I had just come out of college being a music director, and I started on the promo side, just hitting up college stations about different bands that we had gotten hired on at the company to work and get played. And you really, once you have the contact info, a lot of college stations are great because they will pick up the phone and talk to you. Not all non-com stations will do that, but I just had to start from scratch. Like, try and talk to them about real things, get on a real level with them, get to know them well, and then be like, hey, what kind of music do you like? What are you trying to play at your station? Like, I want to make sure I get hired on projects that you want to play on your station. And then just kind of a trust builds. I'm still friends with so many people that I used to promote to at college radio, and actually a lot of the people that I did promote to, are working at companies that promote to other radio stations now.
All right.
Yeah.
And so we're going to continue having this conversation here, but we're going to flip the script a little bit. So for all of you out there who are at smaller radio stations, whether you're from this market or if you're in another market and you couldn't make it and you're watching here on RainierAvenueRadio.World live because we're bringing it to you, that's going to be a thing as well. If you're a small market, if you're a smaller independent radio station, how do you survive in this thing? How do you make connections with people if you don't have entities knocking on your door trying to get information to you, and you want to be engaged and you want to be involved, and you, as a smaller community radio station, you still want the same opportunities that those big radio stations have that are non-commercial radio stations. But Sub Pop isn't knocking on your door asking you to play records.
I mean, I do want you to play Sub Pop records.
As a small market radio station, what would you suggest that they do to say, hey, we would be interested in your artists. We want to form a relationship with you. We may not be a big radio station, but we're growing and we're trying to establish our demographic and our base, and we think that you fit there. So in kind of flipping the script a little bit, how do you work with radio stations in that regard? Or would you, and what does that look like?
So there's a chart associated with college radio and like radio stations like yourself that are streaming only, where you can set up a subscription for free and put in charts like your top 30 most played. And even if you're a smaller station, you still matter. And so when the top 200 chart of the week comes out for what all of the stations are playing together, it's like all their top 30 charts kind of put into an algorithm, and then the top 200 comes out, you're still going to matter. Like if you have something at number 1 on your playlist, that's going to make an effect on the actual top 200 chart. That is just a chart thing, but that is how I ended up talking to so many smaller stations, because I wanted to make sure that they had my music and that they knew about it, because they do matter, even though they're smaller and might not have as many resources. If you are looking to get more involved, though, you just try and give the people that you're looking to work with something to, like, try and figure out a way that you can get noticed, because there's so many things that everyone does, and you should be doing all of those things, like out at all events, like handing out stuff, like having people involved in all different types of events, and getting partnered with different companies, and coming to stuff like this and just kind of being involved. Like, that's super important. But if you can find a way to make yourself stand out in a creative way, I feel like people will be more likely to say, hey, oh, well, we want to do this thing and nobody else does that, and that seems really cool. Like, we should do that with them.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you, Asher. You can stay here. I'm going to take off. Taylor Kareem, you want to come sit down? James, I'm going to give this to you. You guys talk about whatever you want to talk about.
All right. Well, as we're sitting here, we have a representative from Sub Pop, as well as a local artist in the scene. I'd love to hear, I guess, if you have any questions for one of the most influential record labels, to come out of Seattle, this might be a good time if there's anything that comes to the surface that you'd want to ask.
Yes. Well, I had the honor to be able to attend the panel today, and so I pretty much got a lot of my questions answered. But for artists that did not get to attend, I think a common question that comes to mind is, what is the best way to have a label listen to your music, at least on a local level?
It's definitely tough. Connecting with people, like they said, making those relationships is going to be the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like, coming to stuff like this and telling your story, like, I want to listen to your music now because I saw you and heard your voice, If you just sent me a blanket email and that was really basic and didn't have anything outgoing about it, I might listen to it if I'm a nice person, but if I'm super busy, like that type of person, I might skip over it.
Okay.
So just doing stuff like that, connecting with all your local groups and just trying to make yourself heard, that's what's going to get your label in your market attention. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Awesome. And
what are 3 things that you do to make sure that you establish the right connections and relationships with different groups?
Top 3 things that I do. I always try to be funny, even though I'm not that funny. Like, half the time, if a station, because some college stations too, like, you could get complete stoners or people that just don't care, or people that just took a test that are so mad at their lives. Like, you want to kind of take them out of that and be real. So I'd say be real, try to make a connection, and try to have passion for what you're talking about and what you're working with.
Michelle, can you remind everyone out there listening on RainierAvenueRadio.World who you are and what you do?
Hey, Rainier Avenue Radio. It's Michelle Feghali from Sub Pop Records. I do non-common college radio promotions there for the label.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've only been doing this at Sub Pop for 2 years, and then I worked at another company for 4 years.
And what got you into this part of the music industry?
I mean, I want to give myself, credit, but I also do think I got lucky. It's just a lot about making the right relationships. Being in college radio was super important. I was able to be fortunate enough to be at a station where I was the music director that had kind of a bigger following, and so people were hitting me up being like, hey, play our music. And that's how I ended up getting my job right out of college, because there was a company that really liked the work I was doing as a music director, and they had an opening and wanted to see if I would make the switch from music director to promotions. And that's kind of how I got my start. I always knew I wanted to be at a label, and it was kind of great getting to work at an indie promo company too, because I got to work with a bunch of different people and see how they do things and what their mission is and what their goals are. And Sub Pop just kind of seemed like amazing, and somehow I got the job.
You got involved. But you were into music before, so as a music director at your college, by the way, what college was this?
Michigan State University.
Hey,
go green.
Shout out Michigan State. Okay, so as a music director, what got you involved in that position?
Oh,
yeah.
It was so random. I mean,
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
because college radio, like almost every school has one station, if not two. I was a psych major who was doing a dance minor. Like I was not in the world of music really at
Right,
all.
yeah.
One day I decided that I
Psych
needed
and dance. I love it. That's
Yes.
left and right brain working together. Go ahead.
Yes,
Okay.
I was going to be a dance therapist. That was my goal for a long time.
Understood.
I still might go back and do that. We'll
Go
see.
ahead now. You can do it all, girl.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
But yeah, one day I was like, I need a hobby. I feel like I'm not making enough friends in school. Like I should go do something. And then I found the radio station's news team and joined there. And I'd always been interested in music, but I had never really thought I could get a job doing something involving music because I don't really have the talent myself.
Right.
And then I found the music director there. She was leaving soon and kind of took me under her wing and taught me everything she knew. And then I got the job, and then it just kind of went from there.
Incredible. And looking for a hobby.
Yeah.
And would you say that what you're doing right now, do you consider it a job or is it a part of a passion that you have now for music?
I mean, it's definitely a passion thing. My mom likes to tell me that I have a fun job if I'm ever complaining about being broke, which I'm not.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. But she's like, why don't you fly out here for Thanksgiving? I'm like, that's like $700. I don't have that kind of money. She goes, oh, yeah, I forgot you have a fun job.
All right. Understood. Well, don't sleep on fun, everybody.
Yeah. Honestly, I could
Fun is
not
a
get up every
necessity.
day and do my job if I didn't have fun doing it.
Understood. Now, I was talking to Shannara off air. This is my friend. Love her. Love you too now that I know you. And this one over here, she knows I love her. Hello. Oh, I thought someone called my sister Barb. I was like, Barb's here? She was saying that Sub Pop, well, at least you told her, that you all were looking for more African-American or female African-American artists. Talk to us a little bit about that, because we are a community radio station right out here in Rainier Avenue Radio, and I know a lot of people are African-American that are listening to us right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like diversity is really important for any indie label, and
Yes.
Sub Pop is definitely striving to do that and to continue to evolve to be relevant all the time. We started as a grunge label with a lot of white men, and don't get me wrong, I love the white men with their guitars, but
Yes.
over the years we've gotten to work with The Satisfaction and Ish Butler, who's in Shabazz Palaces, and Knife Nights. Like, they've been trying to cultivate different types of things on their roster, and I think now we still have more work to do in that area. So that's really what I'm focusing on when I'm looking for music, is like, one, is it good, and then two, is it something that we can kind of add to diversify our label? Like, that's important.
Right.
For sure.
And so you stated that you met her. She came out here. Networking is important. Coming out to these types of events, meeting people as opposed to emailing and just sending your stuff in.
Mhm.
And we have 1 minute left, as they're telling me. But what is it about Shannara? Since she's here, I'm going to put both you ladies on the spot.
Uh-oh.
What is it about her that you enjoyed in your interaction while you were networking? Because it's important for people to know when you
Yeah.
come to the network, what are some things that you can do that would impress someone like you to make them memorable?
I mean, just being genuine. That's
Right.
really all it is.
Understood,
Like, you
yeah.
came up to me, Shannara, and you were very genuine. You had a great pitch. It wasn't, like, too wordy or awkward, which I will try and take that into account, grain of salt, if someone is a little shy or nervous. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't do that, but I always try to take that into account. But just being genuine and being real is, like, really what I care about.
Well, Michelle, we want to thank you for being here. You are lovely. You are fabulous. And
Oh, thank you
I
for
am
having
going to
me.
pass the mic back to James Gertie, Jimmy Street.
Yes, thank you, Vaughn. And just as we're getting towards the end of our day, thank you guys so much for coming on and sharing some time with us here on RainierAvenueRadio.World. And we're going to switch out our guests here, and with the last few minutes, we're going to try and get one more interview in. But thank you again so much. And we're going to try and get some other hosts in here, some other people that we've networked with today here at KEXP for Mastering the Hussle. And we're going to go into some more stuff. So as they're sitting down now, and here you go. If you guys want to pop in real quick.
And then we'll share.
All right. And here we go. So if you guys, I guess, Karen, if you want to take over and get some introductions out of the way.
All right, all right.
Once again, my name is Karen, otherwise known as KZ, and I am show host of Mojam Mondays and also communications with the station. And what I'd like to do is have everybody who is sitting here with us now to introduce yourself. And we'll go to my left here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Bryan. I'm the host of my show called The Fitness Corner, and I'm the man that gets people fit. So if you don't know how, you don't know where, you can tune in live on RainierAvenueRadio.World, live every Friday from 11:30 to 12, and I'll get you through it safely, and it'll be fun.
And watch on Facebook, too, so you
Facebook
can see
Live as well,
how to
yes.
do the exercises.
Indeed. You can
Yes.
follow me, yeah. I'm your gym.
That's right.
All right, so again, my name is Taylor Crean Benton. If you can't say that like after the 10th time, go with TC. But basically, I'm the student coordinator, so I contact high schools, and with the high schools, I then talk to them about journalism, videography, photography, and just improve their broadcasting skills overall.
We'll go to...
I'm Paul Schneiderman. I'm the host of a show on RainierAvenueRadio.World, Sports and Stuff. It runs at noon every Tuesday. It's been archived on Mixcloud, and it's my show. I'm trying to do a sports show that's a little out of the box. We're hitting on some of the usual game day subjects, but we're also hitting on some of the policy-based issues in sports. So I'm looking for just a very broad, diverse assortment of guests. So it's been a great run, and hope to keep doing it for a while, as I said earlier.
So you guys talk to each other.
All right. And we have a...
I wasn't sure the routine. Now I know. I want to know the deal.
Well, we invited one of the attendees of the Mastering the Hussle workshop on radio here at KEXP.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah,
who are
thanks
you?
for having me. Yeah, stoked to be here. My name's Aurora Smedley. I'm the lead singer of a folk rock duo. We don't have a name yet. We're a 2-month-old young act, but we just got booked at Skylark and Connor Byrne in a month.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what brought you out to the workshop today?
Well, there was a mentoring session at Mopop. So we were mentored by Kevin Deers. And he has a rock station on KISW, I believe. And so we had that, and then we just came in for this. Yeah.
Oh, so that happened all the same day?
Yeah, all on the same day. And now I'm sitting here talking to you.
So as a community radio station, we're here to share information about things that are happening in the community. And while we were here covering this event, it sounds like there was something else really interesting going on. Can you tell us a little bit more about this Mopop mentoring session that you just went to?
Yeah, I don't know too much about the background behind it, but I just know that the Mastering the Hussle, they organize, KEXP organizes with Mopop to do the Mastering the Hussle mentoring session as well. So it's all kind of linked through Mopop and through KEXP.
So they were mentoring you for...
Like 30 minutes. We just had a mentoring session. We just decided to play for him live. So we
Okay,
played
so
for him.
specifically geared towards music
Yes.
artists.
Music, yeah.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
So what did you get to learn here today?
I think it was just fascinating to start to get an understanding of how to get in on radio and get radio play for our music. Because as I said, we're a very young band, but when we have our recordings done, then we'll want to get it on air. And so I'm just learning how to do that now. So
Well, that means that you're ahead of
that's
the
really
curve,
cool.
that you're gathering the information so that
Yes.
you're prepared in advance.
That is the goal. Yeah, want to get out there and kick ass.
All right. Well,
am I allowed?
Love it. Gotta be direct.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts?
So, what makes you unique from other bands, kind of like in the same genre as yourself?
I would say that it's probably the sound influences that we have. My influences are things grunge rock, Soundgarden, and then more string band type stuff like Devil Makes Three, and Devil Makes Three or Carolina Chocolate Drops. These like string bands, like old timey bands, and then grunge. Like I'm not cognizant of those influences, but if I listen to my music, it's like that's what I hear. Is like some mesh of those two things. Yeah.
So if you were to stand in front of someone like, we want to sign you, but you need to give us like a 30-second pitch about your band, what would you say?
Good question. I would say we're an Americana rock duo with screaming female vocals and shredding violin. You should bring us on.
I'm sold.
Right on. Well, let's introduce our newest team member here. Go ahead. Tell the people who you are.
My name is Jake. I am one half of the digital. I also own and operate Catalyst Lab Studios, which is based out of the RainierAvenueRadio.World headquarters. And I work in conjunction with the radio station to get involved in the community and get artists that I work with involved in the community as well. So, among other things.
So as a music producer, do you have any questions or thoughts that you'd like to share? What was your name? Aurora?
Give me your wisdom.
Wisdom.
She's a fresh artist. Any idea, any thoughts that you have?
Fresh artist. Okay. Are you a singer?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Who's your biggest musical influence?
As I said, or I was just telling them that I would say that my two greatest influences are grunge rock and stringtime bands.
It's quite a wide range.
Yeah.
Okay.
We toe that line. We toe that line between folk and rock.
How long have you been singing?
Technically 9 years. It's been very on and off, so I would say 5.
Did you grow up singing contemporary or jazz or in choir or just singing?
No, I'm self-taught.
Okay.
I learned guitar and then taught myself to sing while playing guitar. Yeah.
Okay. And you play guitar and sing at the same time?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm a singer-songwriter, so.
So do you start, when you write a song, do you start with a chord progression or do you start with lyrics?
I start by listening.
Or like a melody.
Usually part of the song will just come to me, and so I'll just hear it, and then figure out how it goes with guitar. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. How long have you been playing guitar?
Same as I've been singing. Yeah. Like they've kind of grown in conjunction with each other. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right
That's
on.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you have the opportunity to intersect with the variety of radio stations that were here today. So not only the panelists that we've had the opportunity to speak with here and Rainier Avenue Radio, but some of the other low-power community stations. Yes. And so now you know that there are local resources available for you to share your music once you get it fully produced.
Yes,
and
thank you.
Please do keep us in mind. Let me give you a flyer here. Awesome. Yeah, send us your music. We have a wide variety of music shows, and they are curated by show hosts. And if your music fits in what they'd like to showcase on their show, then you could get played on Rainier Avenue Radio. Thank you so much for coming and talking with us about your experiences today. I know that our time is getting too short, and I want to make sure to share some information about some really cool stuff that's happening at Rainier Avenue Radio, because we not only come out to community events and broadcast live and have over 60 community member created programs, and we had probably half the crew here today. It's been awesome. Big ups to Rainier Avenue Radio. That's right. But we also have 3 buildings on Rainier Avenue South in Columbia City and South Seattle. And one is our entrepreneurship program with a hair salon, barbershop, a nail shop there called Get It Done. And then we have the Annex Gallery, which is a venue space. Actually, there's an event called Fundamental Family that will be there later this evening, and that's where our radio studio production happens. And then right next door, we have the newly opened Art of Soul Gallery, showcasing local artists, beginning, emerging, and established artists. And it's just an awesome array of art that is regularly displayed. But now we are also hosting some artistic expression classes that you can come and take at the Art of Soul Gallery. So here's what's coming up, and you can find more information about this at our website, RainierAvenueRadio.World, or on any of our social medias. So coming up, we've got jewelry making and design, November 11th. We've got Ableton beat making for beginners on November 14th, and that one is hosted by our own James Street. Yeah. Lead engineer here. Then on the 19th, we're going to have quilt making and design. I'm going to be there. Cool. So all of these workshops are 5:30 to 7 p.m. And like I said, you can find information on all of our medias. And then as Chad Chetta mentioned earlier, we have a monthly open mic showcasing the verbal talents of our community called Lyrically We Stand. And the next episode is November 21st, live broadcast from 8 to 9 p.m. Please email us or come on by the Art of Soul Gallery and attend as an audience member or a participant. And if you can't make it, watch and share on Facebook or listen in at our website, the TuneIn app, or Alexa.
All right, let's get everybody over here.
Come on over.
Let's get everybody
We're about to wrap it up.
How do we get James Street in here as well?
How do we get James Street in here? He's taking pictures.
Everyone, we've really appreciated sharing the KEXP event with you. This is what community radio is all about. Thanks for doing this event. Again, tune us in at RainierAvenueRadio.World, and you can hear the variety of shows that we have airing on the station. If you'd like to get involved with radio and be part of what we do, you're more than welcome to do that. We encourage you to share your voice, to share your narrative, to share your stories. That's what makes community on Rainier Avenue Radio. James, can you get in here?
Oh,
all right.
I see Marco. Cool.
All right. Oh, and hey, Marco, come here. Before we go, come in, Marco.
Give Marco in
somebody,
here.
Somebody give Marco a microphone.
Marco Collins
come on over
moderated
here,
the panel tonight.
Come on this side. You got to face this way though, Marco.
Okay. Are we live right now?
We are live on air.
We are live right now. All right. So Marco, we're about to go, but we're going to go overtime because now you're here.
Okay.
To get us. Everybody stay here. Everybody
changing
stay
the
here.
rules.
Everybody stay here.
Thank you,
Marco. Where do we start? Let's just talk a little bit about the impact and the importance of radio to the listener, to the community, to the musician.
I mean, so over the last couple of years, people talk about radio sort of dying out with the web, with streaming services and a lot of that stuff. And to me, radio is not going away. It's just redefining itself. It's sort of evolving. And you guys are a perfect example of that. You're streaming live, and you've been streaming this whole event, right?
Yep.
The whole event.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you are. I mean, it's radio that's evolved. And I definitely don't think it's going away by any means. And I do think formats like, KEXP, non-com streaming stations are sort of where it's at. And it's exciting to me because that's all I know how to do. Honestly, I mean, I've worked for bands, I've worked for labels, but my true passion is radio, and I think there's just no way it's going away. It's just evolving. So,
well, what are you doing now?
So right now, in addition to working at KEXP, I put out a movie a couple years ago, a documentary. And I got approached to make the documentary into a feature narrative film. So for the last 5 years, I've been working on this new movie, which is kind of based in Seattle. The documentary that I released, or I didn't release it, a crew released it, was a documentary about my life and the music scene, the Seattle music scene. So we won some cool awards. We premiered at SIF. And then I got this call from a producer in Hollywood, and we've been working on this thing, which is crazy.
And
so you may not be here next year. You're in Hollywood.
yeah, no, well, you know what? So, I mean, the cool thing about it is they asked me to be a consultant on the film, but once you sign over your life rights, you're kind of like, you're plugged into, like, you've kind of signed it over. You don't really have a say. And they asked me to be a consultant, but I think that just means I get a chair, one of those chairs with my name on them, one of the director's chairs. I don't think I really have much input after I sign my name. But I'll gladly be a consultant on the film. One of the things I really want to do is I want to be the executive director of the soundtrack, because that's kind of my thing too, is I want to find the artists that I can put on this soundtrack and help break, because that's always been the angle. So, yeah. And that part's exciting to me because it sort of allows me to do the A&R thing. It allows me to still find that new band or that new hit and have it be a part of a film. Because radio, you guys, this is the place where you break records, right? This is the first stop
on Rainier
for a lot
Avenue
of people.
Radio, we break records, we break conversation, we break sports, we break education, we break training, we break opportunity.
Yeah. That's great, man. That's fantastic.
That is, and again, as a community radio station, that is one of the things that you don't have to do that major market radio does. You don't have to selectively say this is the demographic that we're serving, because at the end of the day, we have to service our shareholders who want to make sure that we bring in the highest amount of money. So anything that you want to talk about, that you want to discuss, that you want to do, community radio is a format that will always be open to you to do that.
Always.
Absolutely.
Always. It's always going to be.
Absolutely.
It's always going to be a little bit ahead of the curve, but we hopefully aren't trying to be too hip for the room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at this crew. Like, do you guys all work here? It's amazing. That's awesome, man. Is it all volunteer?
It is all volunteer.
Good for you guys. I like this energy.
Then that's what it's all about.
That's great, man.
So thanks for what you did here and moderating this panel discussion. Big thanks to KEXP for inviting us and giving us the space to make this happen. Again,
I wish I came over here earlier. This is fun over here. You guys got a vibe going on.
Hey, one quick add-on to my distinguished manager, Tony Benton. We're a community station. We're also on the World Wide Web, too.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
Yes, you can hear us. We broadcast shows in multiple languages. We broadcast high school sports. We broadcast shows that focus on entertainment and interviewing artists. Some of the stuff is maybe a little weird because we also at late night offer some stuff that you have to. Well, it's late night.
You gotta adjust your perception of life.
I'm gonna tune in just on that cell alone.
We offer fitness shows. We offer youth programming shows. We offer health wellness. We offer food wellness. We offer hip hop. We have an extensive internship program. Every summer, we teach a math and coding class to middle school students.
Wow.
Right now, we have students in Franklin High School, Rainier Beach High School, Mercer Middle School, Washington Middle School, and Meany Middle School who are taking courses in what's called our Creative Arts Digital Media Academy.
Wow.
Because if you're going, and Chad Cheddar, come on over here.
Chad Cheddar, come on. More camera time, Bella.
The thing about it is if you're going to be a community radio station that serves the community, then you also have to take an active role in filling the needs of our community. And so what we do is we provide educational classes so that the community become the next owners of the radio station.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we teach everything from communications and journalism to film and photography and understanding the analytics behind social and digital media. And, of course, we teach broadcast as well. And as a result of that, you have this industry that people say you can't do it, and yet all of us here are doing it.
Right.
That's it. No barriers.
Where do you guys, where is the actual broadcast happen?
The physical manifestation of Rainier Avenue Radio happens on Rainier Avenue in Columbia City at 5256 Rainier Avenue South.
Okay.
Yes,
I'd love to come by sometime.
Well, come on
We'd
by.
love to have
you
you.
guys
What you got going on?
We say don't knock, just open the door and come in.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Come on by.
With both hands.
All right. And Gabriel and Asher, come on in here too.
Gabriel and Asher, yep.
Watch
the chords, Asher.
Yeah, watch the chords. So just figure out a way to get in here while we say goodbye. So thank you all. If you would like to be on the radio, if you are seeing someone here today, Marco, would you hand that microphone to Gabriel? If you are seeing someone here today and you're going, all these people have some sort of hidden talent or something going on, how long have you been interning at the station?
I've been here since Wednesday.
Wednesday! And what have you been doing since Wednesday?
I've been doing everything I can. I've been writing. I've been speaking a little bit on the news shows. I've been shadowing our producers so I can help learn what they can do. And I've been here communicating with some of the panelists and some musicians here to try and get them on our show.
And
so I've been doing everything I can.
This is your fourth day.
Fourth day.
This is how easy it is. RainierAvenueRadio.World. Come join us. Thank you, Charlize, for allowing us to be here. Again, on behalf of everybody and in RainierAvenueRadio.World, this is Tony B saying, remember, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you are probably right. We're out.